I will say about the price, like we're so nuked on RSI that I would
Dude,
be
RSI is
shocked
nuts.
if I'd be shocked if we don't have somewhat of a substantial bounce from here, maybe even
Well, we
back
could
up
get
into like
it could absolutely strike the 63.2 horizontal and then just go sideways for the next 8 to 10 hours, and then you get a rising RSI because of that.
no, but like I mean even
I
on the
think we make a
daily.
low closer to UK US handoff. I still
I
think it
mean,
gets some
even on the
time.
daily, you're at like a sub 20 RSI on the daily. Like, I just mean over the next couple days that
Yeah.
I would, I would be surprised if you don't see somewhat of a little bounce.
Okay, but even with a bounce, is everybody in this consensus that we're going to be going lower? Like
I my
Yes.
gut
bottom?
my
Yes.
gut is just because of what we just witnessed, and it basically pierced all the way through the 200 weekly moving average. Like it didn't just touch it; it like pierced right through it, and we got some support and liquidity that was there, right? But we're not even seeing that much of a bounce, honestly. So far, I thought it'd be harder, and
I think we'll get 72 to 74,
No,
but
I think that it's
probably
that
no,
you'll
into the
have
weekend.
I
distribution in this range, and then it's going to have to sweep that low. That's how I'm personally leaning right now until otherwise objectively proven. But again, what does that mean? That means that we're looking at like anywhere between a 9 and 7% like bottom ratio here. So if you're on a long-term accumulation window, if you're looking at this from an investor perspective, yeah, it's pretty obvious, right? If you're looking at this from a scalp and trading perspective, then it just becomes way less fucking clear, and you got to kind of have a little bit more risk associated with things, considering that we are going to more than likely have some sort of consolidation and/or sweep of the low. But yeah,
when you mean sweep of the low, do you mean the low that just happened or the
no,
February
the
low?
February low. So I'm saying that we'll go down to essentially like now again how
60.
volatile I'm not sure. Yeah, 58, 55K, something like that, 59K.
Yeah, I would.
Uh-huh.
My gut would say that if we do revisit that low, that the like 80% chance or more is that it not just sweeps the low, it basically goes lower.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Agreed.
who's got a crystal ball to say at that point? I
Yeah.
I agree with you there. That's just how I'm leaning, and I'm leaning like 70, 80% in that direction.
So
While from like a long-term investor window, I am accumulating.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm the same. And I have limit orders set lower as well, but looking at it's not, I guess you can't even really call it macro, but right now the trade in town is AI, and SpaceX IPO isn't happening until next Friday. So we have another full week for us to grind lower. Basically, all the liquidity is leaving to go to AI, all the mind shares leaving to go to AI and the SpaceX IPO. So you have another week of that happening, and then you at least have another week or two of where the main focus is going to still be in AI and SpaceX and how that's doing. And like that's basically you're gonna get a full month. So we have like the only real news story that will take crypto higher is the Clarity Act passing, and that's not going to be tabled until mid
I'm
July.
telling you right now, news is not going to be bringing this thing higher. It's a cycle effect. We're going to get maybe like macro higher lows, and we'll get like the small acute pushes because of that. But it's going to be a delayed time frame. I think you're going to be better actually matching that with liquidity and looking at exchange inflow versus outflow. Um, but yeah,
Well, no, I don't mean the news is going to like end this bear market. I mean like the only type of news that could basically even get a substantial move upwards would be the Clarity Act passing, but that's not for at least another 4 to 5 weeks, and there's so much time for us to just grind lower if no news or anything.
well, I could see honestly some shit where like we see a couple of like maybe like a week of like a move up consolidation. We get some sort of clarity act passing, and then we see like more dunking happening, and it's like a reverse effect of what we saw again.
Well, that's
People
the
people
yeah,
expect
you
one
basically
thing.
sell buy the rumor, sell the news,
Yes,
right?
yes. And I think it's going to be essentially, if we do get any sort of news like that, whether it's Iran peace deal talks or anything like that, I think it's going to subjectively kind of it's going to be concerted on that. Um, but again, from what I'm seeing, big money is stacking this shit right now. Like they're just very slowly accumulating, and and so it's going to be very interesting to see
I
how
think.
the liquidity flows in.
I mean, generally, if you're talking about that's July is not very far away. That's 4 to 6 weeks away. I mean,
In
you could,
crypto, that's forever though.
yeah,
If
but
you're
I mean,
trading
summer
on margin,
normally.
it's forever, but yeah.
Let me just jump in. I just want to say, normally, I mean, obviously, summer can be like watching paint dry too. Like, if I had to guess, I think we're gonna. I mean, could be completely wrong. I don't have a fucking crystal ball, but if I had to guess, we'll kind of hold this 200 weekly SMA. Currently, that's around kind of where we bounced, right around 62, and you'll kind of just fucking drag around for a month to 2 months between, let's say, 60K to 69K or 70K, and then when clarity passes, then we could see, some potential move. And I mean, I've been mentioning a lot. I think that that's where Bitcoin may could be soon. That's where Bitcoin may start to outperform the Nasdaq, S&P 500, AI shit significantly in the second half of this year, and that's what I'm hoping for. So yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that would counter that would be that seasonality in midterm years, that equities are probably not going to be doing that well after the SpaceX IPO going into the midterms. And so if equities are not doing super hot, like Bitcoin's not going to be catching a bid, it might not go lower, but it might not catch a bid for a substantial period of time if equities are not moving as well, and everyone's kind of in a wait and see aspect because there's so much uncertainty going into midterms. Look at every stock market history going into midterms. It's not good, right?
The
Going out.
narrative that I think the news is getting wrong, though, and I want to get your guys' take on this, is that there is no money anymore because of these blockbuster IPOs, and I'm just not seeing that in some of the data that I'm seeing. There's still earnings, there's still VC capital that's sitting on the sidelines. It's not just fucking Warren Buffett that's sitting on $800 billion right now. There's a lot of VC capital that's waiting to deploy, even aside from the fact that we have all of this AI capex spending and such.
I don't think the money becomes an issue until all three of the big three IPO and they all start to majority unlock, which isn't would be not being for a while, right?
Yes. Oh, Magoo. I one on the unlock stage. Yep, I'm with you there. Something that's not being said in editorials I'm reading. Fuck. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the SpaceX, for example, they're doing a 5% float. There's like no shares and everything's locked up. Elon and the top three holders, which is like I think they add up to like 55% of total holdings, are locked up for 365 days. And then there's a weird lockup period for other people, but they really can't sell any until the second quarter earnings, which is not until November anyway. So I don't think the SpaceX IPO on the very surface level this summer is going to just like cause massive drainage of net liquidity. It's going to be once they IPO, they start to unlock, then you have Anthropic go out and they start to unlock, then you have OpenAI go out, they unlock. I think that you're going to have uncertainty going into midterms, but I still think the bubble and the market's strong going into basically May and June of 2027. And I think you're probably going to start to see rate cuts in December of this year.
Speakers that decided to come on at 1
Hey, Mr. Spread.
a.m. here. What's going on, Mr. Spread? I think I've talked to you once before, right?
Yeah, we spoke
He's
on
on most
we spoke
places,
on,
Evan.
we spoke on Ben's space on I think 2 days ago.
Oh,
Ben,
okay. Yeah, yeah. How are you?
Oh my God, Evan, your memory is so bad.
no, I
It's
think he
1
just
a.m., Lisa. I've been up since like 8
he just
8.
died. He just died. No,
Yeah.
I heard you guys talking, and I don't know if you mentioned this before I came on like 30 minutes ago, but is anybody talking about DXY? Because I think this is the big green elephant in the room. DXY is building a base for more than a year since April 2025. So, I'm a price action trader. I think I interacted with most of the people here in the panel. So, what I'm watching is that DXY is sideways for more than a year. It's like 14 months of sideways and building the base. If DXY pops above 100, I I, I don't know what's gonna be the next
We're
target for
fucked. We're
Bitcoin.
fucked, essentially. Yes.
Well,
It's
yes,
so choppy, man. I feel like that thing could just be choppy for another couple of
yeah.
years or some shit. I don't know.
My view on DXY is that it topped cyclically, right? And the next bounce that is gonna have to 103, 105, whatever, is gonna be the next macro lower high. So this is my framework. That's why I wanted to bring it up to you guys. I think that DXY is gonna pop over the summer, maybe to Q4. We're gonna, if you look at Aritat monthly, at 103, 105 is gonna print the next macro lower high compared to the 107 and to the 114 that we had previously in the last years. And I think that when DXY is gonna top in the next months, this is when Bitcoin and also equities are gonna bottom whenever we're gonna have the correction on the equities. So, and to what Magoo said earlier, I like his takes, but I disagree with the cuts. I think that we're already seeing a hiking cycle. I made a post yesterday in Romanian, but now Twitter can translate it in English very easily.
Oh,
European
do you
Central.
live in Romania? Sorry to interrupt.
I'm Romanian.
Wow, nice. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
You're a very cute. Crypto crank always makes fun of my accent, so I take it as a
I
compliment from your
fucking
side.
love your accent.
Just ignore him. Just ignore Grant.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say
I want to hear
lastly.
what you disagree with Magoo on. I want to hear that. Go ahead.
No. I just disagree on the cutting. I don't see a cut without some type of economic, I don't know, stress. So the only way that they're gonna cut is if we have like some weakening in the labor market, intensifying of the war in the Middle East, or energy prices soaring. Otherwise, with the current things that are seeing in the economy, even with the latest readings, right? The PMIs are in expansion. Chicago came at 60. The PMI came yesterday at 54, like broadly for the United States. I don't see a reason for a cut, and they have already pressure from the other big central banks. Lagarde said that European Central Bank is going to hike on the next meeting. Ueda from the Bank of Japan said that they're going to hike most likely in the next meetings. So for me, Japan and even Europe, although we are Europores, right? But Japan saying that they're hiking means even more constraint on the global liquidity. So I don't think that Bitcoin is going to perform very well under these conditions. That being said, that being said, I'm already watching for opportunities right now. I have been bearish since 100K, so I think that I don't know if it's gonna be 60, if it's gonna be 50, if it's gonna be lower 40s. I think that we're already in a nice zone when it comes to ROI for the next years. But I still think that we need to shake even the last hope of the people that are just so like in a rush to long all these fucking dips.
Yeah,
I,
yeah. Go ahead.
no, just the last thing right now. I use only one indicator, which is Ichimoku. I love Japanese culture in general, so I don't.
Thank you.
I don't think that based on this indicator and how far we are from some of its elements, we are gonna find a bottom until Q4, and going out like we did in March 2023, like breaking the structure until Q1 2027. I know it sounds pessimistic, but it's pessimistic for people who do not understand cycles. I have a pin post and I said that if we get our hands on Bitcoin between 40 to 50K area, it means that we're going to have a return of investment of about 44% per year until 2029, if it's going to go towards 180, 190. So for me, this is opportunistic. I mean, I love these prices. I love bear markets. It cleans the space of shit when it comes to projects, people, influencers, etc. And it just, it's like it's a brand new start.
Yeah, a lot of good points there. The thing, the way I could see potentially, a rate cut, like Magoo was saying, is if, you would probably assume unemployment would get a little bit worse in this case scenario. But I think if the S&P 500 drops, you could have a case for it. Like the war ends, Iran ends within a few months, and then S&P 500 has a 5 to 10% drop down. Maybe, just maybe, you'd get low enough inflation numbers to eke out a rate cut by the end of the year. That's what I could see. I could see potential there.
Could I speak
Uh,
real quick? Or no, I'm
I, I
sorry.
don't. I
Continue.
don't think. There's one thing, spiders. I don't think that that's going to be the case. After such a rally, without a 20 plus market correction, like on the big indexes, I don't see them cutting.
Mm.
And that's my take. Of course, I think I can be wrong, of course, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean that's what the betting odds would say. I mean, when I look at yields, I feel like they'll come down. I don't know if yields have been coming down a little bit. Yeah.
If the war in Iran ends and the straits are actually open, and I'm not, that's what this is all pinned on. If that happens in the next 2 to 4 weeks, oil is going to instantly drop to $70 a barrel, and then probably head lower into the end of the year, probably down into basically 60s, low 60s. And so we have high inflation prints baked in now, at least basically going into September because of the Iran war. If we can end that war soon and oil prices can get back to $60 to $70 a barrel, you'll have inflation probably down low enough in December, if not December, in January to warrant a cut.
I I don't di-
It's all inflation numbers. It
yeah,
has nothing to
I
do
don't
with
disagree with this.
what the stocks are
I don't
doing.
disagree with this. But if inflation is tamed and we still have all-time highs in indexes and unemployment is still under 5% or like around 4, why would they cut if the economy is resilient?
Exactly.
For me, cutting sooner, it just says that Fed smells some problems that we do not see. So
What do
if
you?
Because as inflation's going down, unemployment will be going up. And so this is the huge, I don't want to call it a misnomer, but it's literally the essence of a K-shaped economy. You'll have indexes still at all-time high because AI capex spending is fucking retarded. So you'll have AI capex spending juicing GDP while you have AI destroying jobs. And so GDP and the stock market will still be at all-time highs, but unemployment will slowly creep up, inflation will slowly creep down. And what is the Fed's mandate? It is basically a two-pronged system: inflation and job markets. And you have fucking AI apparently supposed to be the biggest disruptor to job markets ever in human civilization. Yeah, they're going to have plenty of reasons to cut, and it doesn't matter if the stock market's still at all-time high, because this is what the current dynamic is with the K-shaped economy. And if you hold asset prices, you're winning. Everyone else is getting fucked, but they have a dual mandate. And my thesis is that unemployment will continue to creep up, and inflation will continue to
But
creep down.
the point that I was
if
just
that's the
trying to
case,
stick in really
go
fast.
on, spiders.
Yeah, sorry. I think amazing fucking points, and honestly, a fantastic fucking debate here that people are not talking about. But just imposing the question, I think that the Fed is more worried about inflation rather than unemployment at the current time being. I think that if they are going to take on a sort of rate hike cycle effect, anything, they're not doing it but for a long-term basis. So if they're going to hike, they're going to hike a couple of times. I could see a timeline playing out where they cut all the way through essentially the holidays, and then there's this massive public push down from Trump being like, essentially, you have to fucking cut now or I'm going to burn this entire fucking Fed down type shit. And I could see something like that playing out. Now, upon the backdrop of like peace talks, oil coming down in that type of way, like, again, as someone that is personally positioned in a fucking short on oil at certain ranges that I'm seeing horizontally, I'm not going to go out there and say, but you know, I'm in the same camp as you are, honestly, and I could see just the narrative kind of playing out in that exact way. But fantastic fucking points.
Yeah, I just think because right now the main driver, if you actually break down and you look at the inflation numbers, whether you look at CPI and the month over month, or if you look at basically PPI, or and then you start looking at core and then core X versus energy, the majority of the inflation that we're seeing is caused from energy. And if we like, this whole thesis is predicated on the war ending, right? And oil going back down to $70 lickety split, right? And then you basically have the washout period where that inflation that was caused by $100 barrel of oil, it's going to take probably 5 to 6 months to get it out of those
For
reports.
sure.
Whether that eventually happens in December or January, who knows? It depends on how fast they end this piece of shit war. But realistically, I actually don't think the Fed is more worried about inflation right now than unemployment. Because if you look at it from a first principle basis, you're looking at the statistics and the data coming through, and all the inflation is caused by oil. And they know as soon as the war ends, though that inflation disappears. I actually think they're more worried about disinflation and deflation right now than they are about inflation. And because to have structural inflation and have your basically your expected inflation from the public, it has everything to do with
Mm.
wage growth and wage inflation. That's the thing that actually causes structural inflation. Obviously, there's other things as well, like if you have ruptured supply chains and energy things like this. But soon as that goes away, there's not and there isn't any continuation of wage inflation. So I don't think they're really worried, and I don't think they're going to hike at all. I think they're going to let the war come to an end, let the inflation take care of itself because oil is going to go back down to $60, $70 barrel oil. Sure, it's going to take 7 months to get it out of the reports. And then as soon as that happens, you're going to notice something. You're going to notice that inflation is not only going down, but is getting to a point where it looks like there's disinflation and unemployment is going up because of basically weakness in the actual spending economy. And you're going to see them basically start to cut.
With this, I don't disagree. So if unemployment goes higher, because I also follow Fed double mandate, I agree with Mogu 100%, but I don't see it now. That's why I said if this is happening, yeah, they will cut. But for now,
No, of course you don't see it now. It's because of inflation. I'm talking about December. I'm just projecting out what I'm seeing in the economy and what I expect, right? Like that's the point of like a macro view. You're not diagnosing what the economy is today. You're diagnosing what you think it's going to be in 4 or 5,
It's like,
6 months time, just based off
something that
of
might be,
events.
something that might be in 4 5.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Because for now, the jolts, for example, the jolts are still very high.
Yeah, like for example, if the war continues and it gets even more heated, well then that my entire thesis just gets thrown out the window, right? It all is predicated on the war ending in the next 2 to 4 weeks, and if that doesn't happen or materialize, well then my
Well,
view
there has
changes,
to be.
Do you
as
think,
it,
We're at a
anyone
Magu,
should.
minimum. I'm sorry. Go on.
do you think, Magu, that if the war ends, the whole chain, like refinery, logistics, and everything globally, when it comes to oil and energy, is gonna just everything balanced out so fast that it's not gonna affect the.
No, it's going to take 6 or 7 months to balance
That's a
out, right?
related
You're going to have
question.
the initial.
I have a question.
Yeah, you're going to have the initial drop in oil prices, right? And that's going to basically tamper inflation expectations. But it's going to take time for inflation to basically work its way through the system and to basically, because there's so many byproducts of oil from Iran, right? Like nitrogen,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
these plastics, all these supply chains. So it's going to take 6 months. That's why I don't think inflation numbers are going to they're not just going to go from 4% headline year over year to 2% in a month. No, it's going to take 6 to 7 months. That's why my thesis is predicated on the first cut might be this year, December, or it might be
I
January.
have a question. So how do you liquidate like large physical assets like a super tanker where it's just one thing to where it's just one trade
So
instead? Like how does
So
that work?
if you're talking about a super tanker, I would almost guarantee you that Iran has been solely dealing in Bitcoin for the last 3 to 4 years and selling energy with Bitcoin to basically avoid sanctions. Now, pick your other large ticket item. Let's say you have a fucking Ferrari or a house. Who's going to basically give you Bitcoin for a Ferrari or for a house or for a speedboat or whatever the fuck it is, right? Yeah, it's fairly thin where your options, it's not like you can go to the Ferrari dealership, right? And basically sell your Ferrari back to them and they're going to give you Bitcoin, right?
So,
And that's
what I'm saying
realistically,
is that cars can move, houses can't move. So people are gonna
yeah,
realize
houses
that.
are, yeah, they're locked. They're locked,
Yeah.
baby.
So people are gonna realize like Bitcoin can move. Houses like when Bitcoin was at about the value of a car, both assets could move. With when Bitcoin gets to about the value of a house, people are gonna realize like, wait a minute, Bitcoin can move, houses can't move, but at the same time, you can't live in a Bitcoin. So it's like there's a trade off in both directions.
There is like I know plenty of people that have moved air quotes their Bitcoin and bought real estate all over the world. There's plenty of real estate I'll just call them avenues to basically buy real estate with Bitcoin, right? There's different facilities on whether you're giving the owner the Bitcoin or whether there's a broker intermediary in a specific jurisdiction that's willing to swap out. But yeah, that's one of Bitcoin's,
Yeah.
in my opinion, one of its most admirable qualities is that it's movable. Like you can take it anywhere you want, and
Well, the
there's
thing is,
basically
it's
a
getting heavy. Bitcoin is getting heavy in terms of like shipping fuel. Like one BTC is equivalent in the markets to like 1 to 200 metric tons of like ULSFO right now, of VL or VLSFO or whatever amount of sulfur you want in the fuel, depending on like what you're using it for. So like there, and the Mediterranean Sea recently made it to where all the vessels transiting the sea have to use lower sulfur fuel. So like what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to just stockpile the lower sulfur fuel in Malta, because like sooner or later the vessels are gonna have to either use the lower sulfur fuel or have like some like sulfur scrubber or something like that. I don't know exactly how all that works, but basically I'm trying to like figure out how to actually make the market between crypto and petroleum function, because like currently it kind of functions at the retail level, but not at like the institutional like
It
petroleum
functions.
level.
It functions at institutional level. Go to Dubai, my guy. Go to Dubai for houses, for petrol, for
I
everything.
was
You
gonna
will have
say,
a market for that.
yeah, and just create like a fucking base 44 platform like in 10 seconds and just, essentially route it and then just become like a toll booth for that fucking shit. Um,
You don't even need that. You don't even need that. If you have any of the
oh,
products,
you
either
could do the
Bitcoin or either
arbitrage
the
yourself. Yeah.
you just go to Dubai and you're gonna find your
Yeah,
connections.
you just got to dodge the missiles in
That's
Dubai
a
right
big if.
now. But
That's
yeah,
a
Dubai will take Bitcoin in any way, shape, or fashion. You want to buy a car, you want to buy a house or a condo, you want to buy a Rolex or a Patek, you want to buy and fucking sell some oil tankers. Yeah, Bitcoin, my man.
Magoo, I wanted to
Dubai.
ask you like 2 minutes ago, man. You think that we do get rate hikes if they send the troops home? If the 82nd Airborne, is sent back home because they're on the border right now. They got a bunch of the Navy, all that shit there.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
just
yeah,
hanging out,
yeah,
having
yeah.
fun.
But not, man. My thesis, even though I'm taking in all the fucking barriers of entry here objectively, my, yeah,
So I think I know where
yeah.
you're going with this. So I think Trump is actually at a loss here against Iran. I think Iran has played this as beautiful as they could have with the hand that they were dealt. Because when you control or semi pseudo control a corridor that is supplying the world 20% of its energy, and then all of the downstream supply chains that are using that 20% of the energy, you basically have a stranglehold on the world economy because there's no other energy source that can make up that 20%, especially in no couple of months either. Like it's years and decades to build around that. And so Iran has masterfully closed the straits. Obviously, Iran is hurting as well. But Trump knows that if they knew going in that they weren't going to cause regime change with basically standoff airstrikes. That if they were ever going to do a regime change, there would need to be boots on the ground. But there is zero political will right now for boots on the ground. So they're not going to do it, and they
Nail on the
can't do it
fucking
because
head, bro. Yep.
e- even if Trump wanted to, and even if the American populace wanted it, which they don't, the first boots on the ground, the 10-year and the 30-year would go to like 7%, and and that alone would cause probably a global recession instantaneously. If there's another
And that's the
fucking war
underlying.
with
That's why it's so clear
Iran.
to me. It's underlying
Yeah,
They're not
supply.
gonna send. They're
yeah.
not gonna send boots on the ground, Mongo.
No,
It's
they're not
impossible.
putting,
It's
that's the reason why
impossible.
they're not. And that's they need to end this and to open the straits. And so that's why my thesis is in the next 2 to 4 weeks, you're going to see the straits open, right? And I think it's going to be a sweetheart deal for Iran that is trying to be packaged as a sweetheart deal for America. They're going to try to pretty it up in the news and the PRs because realistically, Iran is going to come out victorious in the deal. But Trump, that has to happen, or else Trump's entire legacy is starting a war of choice and sending the global economy
Bro,
into a
we got
recession.
literally the
And
same
so,
fucking thesis. It's wild as shit, bro. But I
so,
think it's an A or B situation. You hit it on the fucking head, bro. Yep. Mhm.
so essentially, when they end this war and the straits are open, oil drops down to $60-$70 a barrel relatively quickly, and inflation starts getting flushed out of the reports over 6 to 7 months. And that will now allow the continued AI bubble to go into the second part or the first part of 2027.
Magoo, do you think that the
Yep.
effects from the tariffs are trickling down now to the economy, or because I see,
I don't think the tariffs ever affected the economy.
but no, but I see again tariffs being brought up even by Trump.
Yeah, I don't. I think tariffs are. Well, first of all, the first tariffs that they've laid down basically said they're not constitutional. Now they're trying to go another way to do it. But I have kind of a tinfoil hat theory about tariffs. I actually think that they when they were putting those tariffs in place, I think that they were actually trying to cause inflation while trying to cause damage to the global world order. And then what I mean by I just mean like the global economy and the
It's
global
less of a
monetary
tinfoil
system.
hat thesis and just like it's the joke that I play with my like real life circle. It tariffs are RSI. It's the most laggard fuck. Is it real data? Yeah, it's a number, but it's a lagging quantile. It's a lagging
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
percentage.
whoa, whoa, whoa! Don't say nothing about RSI. We are like at the same levels at 2022 or 2020. We cannot go lower because of the fucking
Yeah. Well,
RSI.
I don't think the inflation right now is from tariffs. I think it's solely because of the Iran conflict, right? And once that gets cleared up, I think you're going to see inflation start ticking down again, right? And then I think you're going to start to see unemployment ticking up, right? It's and remember, if you go look at any chart of historical unemployment going up, it doesn't just go
Well,
up and
and
skyrockets,
in
right? Like
that
there's
mathematical equation, efficiency and earnings go up too, in my opinion. But yep,
Oh
yeah,
no, no, they definitely are. This is my whole theory about the K shape, right? You can have unemployment going up, and the Fed cutting while stocks are still hitting new all-time highs because of the way that AI is
exactly.
creating this dynamic where unemployment's going up because of AI, but GDP is also going up because of the massive amount of capex. Now, if you were going to say, "Hey, Magoo, what is one thing you're looking at to basically in let's say the Q2 of 2027, what are you looking at to see when this thing's finally going to turn around? Like the economy's going to start heading south. You look at basically the sellers of basically the picks and shovels, so the
Yep,
semiconductors and the
yep,
energy companies. As soon as you start to see those orders, like for example, Nvidia has like their top three customers, like Meta and a couple others, like account for like 40% of all their sales. As soon as you start seeing them slowing down on buying chips, that's when you know to get the fuck out of the markets because the AI bubble is about to
yep.
pop. And that it just but right now things can change obviously as new information comes, but right now the AI capex spend is basically guaranteed going into basically the end of Q2 of 2027. But after that, all bets are off.
I not only support what you're kind of going with there, and I'd say like it's just it's the downstream effect of us chasing fear. This is all just like a psychological fear chase, and while everybody in technical standards is like, okay, this is the most fearful time we've ever been, and it's overblown, and I just keep telling TradFi like this is unlike any other time that we've been in, unfortunately, because of the fact that we have all these like macro things that would otherwise say that we have a descending efficiency, a descending earnings ratio. It's the exact opposite to the points in to nail on the head of what you're saying, Ben. Yep.
Yeah, like you could see an equity correction here over the summer. Like you could see a Nasdaq correction of basically let's 15% going into basically end of June, July, and August, September, and October. You could see a 15% correction in QQQ, and you could see everyone being like, okay, you can see the newsletters. Oh, AI bubbles finally popped, but I think that's will be the bear trap. Like the QQQ or S&P will correct basically 10%, maybe 12, 13, 14%. Everyone will be calling for basically the bubble being popped. Midterms will happen, all the uncertainty will be down, like you said, 12, 13, 14%, and then it will rip in everyone's face.
I can see the same scenario, and this coincides with the XY rallying.
Yeah, true too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I like And that's just like the Widowmaker trade, right? Where basically everyone thinks that the bubble's finally over, and then it's a bear trap. You get everyone going in there shorting it because they think the bubble's finally over, and they've confirmation, and then it just rips in their face and fucking annihilates them. And all that leverage short is the next wave to what send the Nasdaq to like
I think it's actually really
36,000.
until
interesting
until
points.
Q1, Q2 next year. And the people who shorted
Yeah.
now they're gonna get long at the max, and after that we're gonna have the fucking recession and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I'm shorting now.
Well, and then you'll also
Who is
I'm
get.
shorting
shorting
now?
now.
Who is shorting? Ran?
Do y'all think the global 1200 will correct as much as the 500, the S&P 500? Because I'm using the global 1200 as collateral to short the S&P 500.
I didn't watch the global. I can tell you one thing, that regardless if we're gonna go higher or lower, the next 5 to 10 years are gonna be led by Nikkei, the Japanese index. I'm looking at what happened since the last elections and since the last prime minister was elected, and Nikkei is just rallying, and I think
Do
a lot
you
of
agree
capital went
that
home.
the Nikkei is rallying because they have cash reserves? It's not because of productivity and efficiency. It's because of treasury
No,
assets. And
no, it's because of the latest shift in ideology. The former prime minister of Japan tried some new age shit, and they are very nationalists. They love their traditionalism, etc. So he lost the last elections. They just elected a woman for the first time in history as their prime minister, and with that change and actually going back to their old ways, a lot of Japanese big investors relocated the capital domestically. That's why we have Nikkei at all-time highs since 1990.
is it
And
in a
now I think,
vault or is it in a company that they're reallocating it to, though? That's what
I
I
don't know,
don't know.
man. Listen. I'm a technical trader. I just see cash flowing back into Japan.
Me
I see
too. Me
Nikkei at
too.
all-time. I
Yeah.
see Nikkei at all-time highs, and I think Nikkei is gonna lead.
Well, the reason why cash is going back into the Nikkei in Japan is because the yen carry trade is unwinding
That's
because
what
True,
I
of
know.
basically
Yeah.
true
Japanese
also, true also.
because Japanese rates are now fucking you can't borrow at nothing,
So they're
right?
gonna rise the
So all that money
they're gonna
is
hike the rates even more, Mago.
yeah,
We're
I do,
rising
but
rates.
I do think that the Nikkei is in a bubble right now, similar to basically 89 or 90. Now the question is like you can't step in front of bubbles because those just you'll get wrecked, right? How high could the Nikkei go? It's anyone's guess, but the Nikkei is up 120% in the last year. Like it is going into bubble territory, right? Or it is in bubble territory, right? At some point, like read a fucking history book. And if you go back until 1990, when the Japanese central bank actually started raising interest rates, that's when the Nikkei imploded. And this time's a little bit different because Japan is seeing inflation for literally the first time since the late 80s and the
Yeah,
90s.
every day. Our
Um,
everyday life is fucked for normal people.
yeah, and so realistically, the Japanese central bank is going to cause the next recession in Japan and the next crash.
It's already
Um,
here.
well,
We
it's
already in
there.
recession.
It's there in the standard of living. It's not there in the asset prices, and so it is going to start showing in the asset prices eventually. I don't think the Nikkei implodes until the AI bubble finally implodes. So you could still basically have another year of this bubble market in the Nikkei.
How
And
does
I
that
agree with
affect
what
the Pokemon card market?
Bad, very badly, very badly. The Pokemon market, the CS:GO skin market, the sneaker market, you name it. It's affected
go
very
into the
horribly.
hentai collectibles. It's not gonna ever crash. You're always gonna have a demand for that, even
It's
in a recession.
actually
I mean, that's what they said about
Mr.
NFTs, and
Spread,
look what happened. I mean,
Hentai is never
Mr.
gonna
Spread.
go away,
Actually,
man. Don't worry.
hentai isn't
the
that the
newest
porn?
thing,
Like, what is this?
the newest thing is One Piece cards. The if you want to front run, the newest thing, my friends are doing it. One Piece cards.
Yeah, I seen that how some of the One Piece cards are in a bubble right now because as I seen a
Mm-hmm.
video where
Right,
some of
right.
some of some of the new One Piece cards are going more than like first edition classic
Mm-hmm.
base set Pokemon cards. They're in a massive bubble right now.
I tell
The
you
one
guys,
punch cards.
Yeah,
Magoo,
I'm helping my
Magoo, how do you
friends.
know all this
I'm
shit? How
helping
old
my
are you? You
friends
should
who
be
are
like
doing One
60. How
Piece
old are you?
cards.
How do you know about?
How old am
Yes.
I? I'm old. How old do you think I am?
From the voice, you're in your 40s.
My voice. I'm in my 40s. I'm older than that.
Okay, so how do you know about One Punch and everything? You're a really cool guy.
Because I'm a savvy investor. I know about everything. I can tell you how much a Dragon Lord CS Ghost skin goes for. I can tell you how much a One Punch first edition PSA 10 goes for. I can tell you how much classic Nintendo consoles go for. I can tell you what the fucking yen carry trade is. I can tell you
No,
about
this
Bitcoin.
guy
You
is
name it, bro. I'll
Mongo
tell
is
Is
you
this
about
good.
it.
guy
I'll tell you.
You're
AI? What
shrewd,
the?
man. You're shrewd. I'm gonna give you that to you.
I'll tell you anything you want to know,
You know,
bro.
Bert, wait,
Like I know
Magoo,
a
do you
lot.
know that they released like gold, 14 karat gold plated Pokemon cards in Burger King fucking 1999? Like, you bought a fucking burger, they gave you a gold plated Pokemon card. I just sold 3 of those motherfuckers for like $2,000 a pop.
Look what they took from
I
us. Look what
had
they took from us, man.
look what they took from us, man. Burger King,
Yeah, fucking
bro.
BK. Yeah,
The
BBQ.
all, but if you just look across the entire board of assets, everything's in a bubble right now for the most part, right? Whether it's fucking baseball
Except
cards,
Bitcoin.
baseball memorabilities, except Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the only thing that's getting absolutely fucking raped over a fucking barrel for whatever reason.
Because we're
Someone,
in a
I
bear
like,
market, it's because we're in the yearly bear market. Everything is physically
Yeah, more sellers than
yeah, no,
buyers.
we are, but I do think that it's something beyond just, oh, this is the 4 year cycle. I think that there's something fundamental happening with a player in Bitcoin, whether they're being liquidated or forced to sell, or whether someone is just exiting a very large position. Because if like, and it's from the United States. If you look at the premium prices across all global exchanges, all this selling is happening on Coinbase. So there is a US player or a US linked player that is just out there VWAPing the fuck
You
out of the
notice how
sell.
we also haven't
Um,
had as many Bitcoin OGs selling like on this cycle versus like previous cycles. I kind of noticed that a couple of months ago. Now, a couple of those wallets that I was watching did eventually kind of like cut off a couple of BTC, but nothing in the likes that I saw in like, you know, the 2021 into the distribution phase of then type of thing. And so yeah.
the only so Mount Gox has been moving coins as well. So that's a
Yeah.
potential player that
Hmm.
has been selling. And there's ways that they can sell without actually moving them on chain. There's a lot of things that OTC Desk will do for someone if you can prove that you own the coins. So they could be VWAPing OTC. Like someone is definitely VWAPing not just on OTC, but there's constant sellers on
But
Coinbase.
they're cutting the
So
margins is the thing. That yeah, they're not absolutely slam dunking, which is why I think
yeah, no, they're
yeah, yeah,
VWAPing it.
yeah.
They're
Okay, what the heck is
VWAPing
a
it.
VWAP?
So it's a volume weighted average price. So basically, dependent on how much volume gets traded on a given exchange on a given day, you are trying to mitigate your effect in the market by looking at how much volume and timing that. So it's a volume weighted, so it's an algorithm, the volume weighted average price. And so it's basically like a TWAP, but instead of time based, it's volume based. And if an exchange has $2 billion of Bitcoin volume in a day, you can obviously sell more. If it has only $1 million of volume, you can only sell so much, opposed to a TWAP where it's a base set you're selling on a given
I don't care if
time
you want to
cadence.
say like the
So it's
chicken came before the egg or the egg came before the chicken. It's like volatility dries up over time on an asset that just gets bigger as well, right? And so it's the shit that Ben Cohen or like other analysts, I mean, just it's an easy mind type of approach to associate with here. And even at that point, we haven't seen like volatility drawdowns on BTC in this cycle that we've seen in previous bear markets. And I think that that's an influence of everything that you're talking about right now. But yeah.
yeah, we're right now we're literally 50% down from all time highs. Now, how low do we possibly go? I don't think we go like we normally go. Like 70% correction would get us to like 40K. Well, I don't think we're going to 40K. I think at the lowest, we're probably going into the low 50s. and that would put us at like basically a 60% correction. And I'm not even super confident it
Yep.
gets that low. I do think we sweep the low of the Feb low and probably pierce to 58. But this will be the most muted bear market in Bitcoin history, is
We
what
also
I
had the
think.
most muted all-time high, right?
Say that
Like we
again.
also had the most muted all-time high.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, we
That shit
did.
was
It was
weak.
basically, yeah, it was weak as
But
fuck,
But I
listen,
right?
think that
to
that
your
was
point,
that was
to
a different
to your point,
combination. There's
to
not.
your point, I think Bitcoin is mathematical, right? I mean, look at the pin post. I also think that we're not gonna go to 40K, but I'm open to the idea. But if we take all cycles, we can see that cycle to cycle, the bear markets are shallower and shallower. And every time it's like shallower with 8%. So even if it's gonna be shallower with 8%, because last bear market, top to bottom, we were like 79% lower, it means that we're going to be 71% lower if the matrix is real and the math is
What
real.
happens
So
when we really
71.
start? What happens though when we really start building on decentralized chains and stuff like that? And so I don't think that you could
Sorry, J
rule
Dog.
out. Yeah, I don't think that you can necessarily rule out that we've seen like the compression state of what the ultimate higher high is going to be on both cycles. But I think from a bear market perspective, as you have more conductive adoption of this kind of shit in general, like this is going to be the norm until you have some sort of just like massive break of ultimate, percentage liquidity or something like that, like these old OG wallets and
What
shit or
what
whatever. But even at that point, that's just going to be redistribution into the institutions that are trying to eat this shit up for the fucking next 100 years, right? So
Yeah, I do think though that Bitcoin, like if you just go look at the ascending line, you can start at the 2017 peak, you draw it through the first peak of 2021, and you draw it through, basically it hit three times this year. It hit basically in July of 25, hit in August of 25, then hit again
is it
in
not
October of
disgusting that the
25.
200 week
Once
is not
that
that same fucking level too? But yeah.
Yeah. So once we get up there, and like right now that level is basically 135, and by the time we get there, it's probably gonna be closer to 150. But once that parallel ever gets broken, like Bitcoin's gonna, let's just say it gets there in July or June of 2027, which will be around like 145K. If it ever confirms above that line, it's gonna teleport from 140 to
Because what
200
is
in
that
like a
macro chart?
week.
That's a gigantic cup and handle pattern, is what that is, bro. And if that breaks out of
Yeah.
that horizontal level, like, yeah, fucking turn the screen off and just kick your feet up on the sand at that point, right? Uh huh.
Yeah, but they needs to get back
Yeah.
up there, right? Right now, we're chilling at the 200-day weekly moving average, which is historical support. It's why we've bounced off it, but we did pierce it a little bit, and so I expect us to probably go a little bit
I think
lower.
that even if we saw
But
here's the thing, even if we saw a Pierce this tonight, like when I turned over, and came on the space, like let's say we saw a Pierce below it. If we saw like increasing liquidity on an hourly basis, I'd be a little bit more like, okay, this might have some durable legs on a move. But after the last 4 hours that I've seen us hitting this, I am definitely like, okay, this looks a little bit more like distribution, and it's confirming the thesis and we're pitching the same tent and we're sitting around the same campfire right now. And I'm trying to, for the sake of the listeners, just kind of bring on a different side of the thesis. But I hate that I'm on the same coin. So.
so if another technical, if you pull up the chart and you draw it from the very bottom of the 2022 bear market, which is November 2022, and you draw a line on the lower ascending path of Bitcoin, it touches the February and touch it to the February 2026 low. We are now sitting on that upward trending line as well. So it went down, it touched and pierced to the 200 weekly moving average, and now it bumped back up and is sitting literally right on that ascending line, going all the way back to the bottom bear market low
Do
of
you use
2020.
any Phoenix ascending like indicators or anything like that?
No, most of the stuff that I call on is very, a lot of it's macro, knowing what's happening in the economy, and very rudimentary technicals for more
Yeah.
short term action. So most of my calls are based off of like macro. with a sliver of TA.
Yeah, that's totally fair, and I think that as an investor, that's the way to play it for fucking sure.
Yeah, I'm not trading this. Like I do maybe 2 or 3 trades a quarter, if that, and sometimes I won't do any.
Yeah,
So
I'm in the camp where I go in on a quarterly basis and know what my percentage is to trade on margin. I do both, right? And so I was just kind of interested in that thing, in that kind of light. Again, there's three. It's like a holy trinity type of thing that's lining up here. We see mass the volume profile at 62K roughly within that previous like consolidation and then breakout in fucking September of 24. And we have the 200-week moving average plus this ascending channel that you're talking about here. And so I just there's a massive chance that we get this consolidation moment, and it speaks upon all of the fucking like political arbitrage bullshit that's in the background, which I honestly see as meaningless. It's nothing but a timetable, right? We're getting to the point that we're getting to. Bitcoin is what it is as a steady state. It's just going to have kind of a time inflection. It's going to have a time influence based upon.
I wouldn't even be surprised if we bounce back up to 70K. I just because if you take the ascending of this move down starting basically in May and starting at like 82K, you can bounce back up to 70K and bounce off of that and go right back down and then sweep the 60K lows, right? I did buy some Bitcoin here at 61,780. I bought some basically because it was a good price point, and buying at the 200 weekly moving average for long term is not a bad idea. But if we can get some bounce here to 70K, I would be happy with that. But if not, if we sweep the lows, I'm buying more. I got limit orders all the way into the low 50s for long term, right? I believe in Bitcoin as an asset long term, like massively. I do think in 10 years it's going to be $1 million asset or close to it.
Yeah, speaking of the TA stuff, I see we got Landy. He's been here for a while. I wanted to get Landy, if you're still awake, it's getting late here. If you ever wanted to get your aspect on this, what you're seeing on the charts at the moment, if you wanted to expand on this conversation here.
He's a puppet. What does he know?
Well, you got that. I like your Mister. I like your thing with the thing. Go ahead, Landy.
Landy.
He's my brother. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, this move was expected, right? After bearishly retesting the previous monthly higher low close. So, I mean, that's after the breakdown. I think many of us were looking for the retest. So, I am looking at any kind of, the next big area, obviously 58 to 60. Um, but if we start seeing weeklies close below there, we're going to hit expansion to the downside. So even if we were to wick into like the mid 50s or even the low 50s, it's got to get bought back up above 60K, or else it's going to, if it closes a weekly below there, we're going to get expansion. We're probably looking way lower. I would be looking for probably upper 40s to 50K initially, that prior cycle um, bear market kickoff at 48 to 50K.
NFTs launched at, or not NFTs, ETFs launched at 42 or 44 around that area. So
Yeah, because we had the run up to 49K just before the launch of the spot ETFs. So,
We
it's a big
we need
area.
to make the boomers feel the same things that like no free lunches, baby.
Yeah, I'm looking at open interest right now, and even right here right now we're about 1.5 to 2 billion dollars more in open interest at the same price point versus where we were last time. So, I feel as though we need to, even if it gets a daily bounce, right? It's not breaking the downtrend below from here, at least below like 74, 74.1. So I think, another lower high. I'd like to see a sweep, get out the rest of these longs, flip funding negative, when you start wiping them out, market equalize a little bit, start going negative funding for a little bit, flip that back, and then see how we hold up. If we start getting weekly closes though, I think spread last time that you and I talked, it was like I was saying anywhere below the Anywhere below 60K on a weekly close, we're looking at expansion down. Doesn't mean that we can't get a deeper sweep below like 58 to 60, but it does start to endanger things on a weekly close and a monthly. So you don't want to see monthlies closing anywhere below this last low, or else we're probably going to be kicking off expansion pretty low. Initially, looking low 50s. If we get expansion, upper 40s, and then that ropes in the entire bottom side of that structure. You just look left on your chart, and we're looking anywhere from 38.5 to, which is actually ETF high was 49, and then we dropped down and hit the monthly at 38.5 before taking off to make a new all-time high prior to the halving. So that'd be the next big area of liquidity, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it hit if we get expansion. But it's all about seeing it confirm.
Oh god, I'm
Right
getting
now, it's
turned
just a
on by
ride.
this bear porn, man. I'm kidding. I'm
Well,
kidding. I like it. I like
right.
it.
Well, right now, look, it's macro compression on a monthly, right? It's we're at the lowest volatility levels that we've seen in a very long time on a monthly time frame, on a quarterly time frame. Obviously, this is normal stuff when you have a maturing asset, when you have a distribution of long term holders, miners, right? Miners reduced from like 2.7 million in Coinbase transaction miner wallets that are being tracked all the way down to 1.8. They're kind of maintaining that, but they distributed, about a million Bitcoin since the ETFs launched. So we've seen OGs do a bunch of OTC. We've seen a lot of movement on the network in that direction, but we still have so many OGs in this space that are still active and still holding on tight. So we need to see that distribution. I think that the only way to really shake them out is to get price back to the upside.
You're not getting my
No,
coins.
I mean not getting mine either, but it's one of those.
I'll cover losses.
I'm
I'll cover losses in both directions.
but
I'll cover losses in both
yeah,
directions.
thanks. I'll be sure to buy a
I'm
super
sure.
tanker
Yeah.
off you.
Yeah. Yeah. Some random guy
Yeah,
we met on Twitter Spaces to cover all my fucking
yeah,
losses. Yeah. Yeah. Send me $1
yeah. When
million right now. Yeah.
I'm all for it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, look, my thoughts have been pretty much the same for a long time, right? I've discussed this a lot. Wasn't surprised to see the 123 to 125. I didn't think we were going to get a big, massive bull run after the highs. I thought it would be muted this cycle. That's not what we've seen. We're in a bearish period. I still think we're looking into Q3 to into Q4 to find and set that macro low. We'll see if I'm right on that. But it's all about this next. I think personally, I think we have another leg down below 60, whether it's just for a sweep or whether it's a sustained drive down remains to be seen. I'm still in favor. If you're gonna nail me down to like statistics, I would say that it's far more likely that we're going to see another leg down, and I'd place that at about a 75% chance. But we have to see confirmation, right? Got to see the closes. And right now, it's just kind of chill. We're in a compression. If we see a monthly close below, the 60K region, then maybe people will start sweating. But I'd be looking at that as all opportunity. Here and under is all opportunity.
And I think the biggest point you say there is the monthly close. I'm with you there, Landy. I'm much more like bullish and accumulation within the current, like down to the 55, 59K range area, rather than what you're speaking on, like the lower end of the sweep. But yeah, no, I think that's totally fucking fair.
Well, I'm a volatility trader primarily. So I like Bollinger Bands. Shout out to John Bollinger. There's
Yeah.
plenty of volatility metrics that people
Me too.
use, um, but I really like typically lower second. Everybody just uses the classic bands. I use a triple setup, which is just first, second, and third standard deviations.
That's exactly how I do it too. I use 1 through 3 standard devs.
Yeah,
I have a little bit tool depending on the actual window that I'm trading. Depending if it's at the market open at 9 a.m., I kind of adjust that a little bit. But yeah,
Yeah, and the main thing is typically they'll act as reversal points, just like they did on the monthly at the highs at 123 to 125. But one of the things that I'd caution, anybody that if we start seeing closes below 60, especially towards 55, if we
Yeah.
see closes below there, one, it's losing the lows, right? But it's now we have that full range down to that swing low at 49K, which was also the swing high prior to the ETFs. It's confluent with the last bear market lower high.
And
And
do you
I'd be
agree with
looking for that.
Landy that this is like the kind of stuff where candle studying is actually really fucking integral from a macro perspective, looking at your monthly and weekly close type of thing. And so that
Yeah,
I would
well,
speak to listeners is like if you're going to study like candle patterns and stuff like that, kind of like do it out on a macro monthly perspective of the things that Landy is saying from a horizontal level, because I think that's going to be very very influential and it's going to play out pretty technically,
Well,
honestly.
here's what I tell people is I've maintained this despite the volatility. Bitcoin is one of the cleanest trading assets on the planet. It respects monthly, weekly, and daily levels. It just depends on what time frame you're trading, but it respects them nearly perfectly. Even even coming out of the bear market, coming into the bull, the test of the bear market lower high to striking the monthly on the close open at 38.5 before the new all-time high. Like even on the way down, it has just been immaculately playing the weeklies. So yeah, I wouldn't expect that to stop, especially with institutional players involved. And look, everybody makes a really big, and I think maybe a little bit too big of a deal about the institutional players. Crypto native exchanges and miners still play a massive role in this space, and
Well,
they're about
because it's
equally
money
weighted in
at the end of
holdings.
they
Well,
have
yeah, it's
money at the end
liquidity.
of the day. It's liquidity at the end of the
Yes, it's
day. Yeah.
liquidity. And look, the Bitcoin is going to go to those who have the liquidity. And I have no problem watching people freak out and sell their Bitcoin and rotate into the top, which I think we're probably due for a deeper correction. We can keep melting up in equities, but we're going to see that deeper correction. We're going to see a lot of people getting sick of being here and rotating out into that. And let them get,
What do you think of I'm sorry, continue.
I was just saying, like it's gonna do the normal thing that we see in crypto. Everybody gets bored, they get despondent, they leave, they go and they chase, they get wrecked, and then they come back when it's when
Yeah.
it's a little too late.
They only buy at the exact top and they only sell at the exact bottom.
Well,
I'm kidding,
I
but
would I maybe the degens, but for anybody that's been here for any length of time, especially trading Bitcoin or accumulating Bitcoin or even accumulating altcoins, if that's your thing, like if you've been here for any length of time, this is not this is these none of what is happening right now is very surprising or foreign. I think that people just spun themselves out with the narrative of, well, institutions are here, pro crypto administration, we can't possibly go down now. And it's like, yeah, no, that's not how markets work.
No, dude,
But
I'm telling you, the people that actually I feel like have been in this and pay attention to the science of things, this does not surprise them one fucking bit.
yeah, I'd agree
no,
with that. Yeah, go ahead, Landy.
well, the big thing, and you've been on stages. I haven't seen you in a little while, Evan, but you've been on plenty of stages with me and others here, where it's like, look, like the only people that are really surprised, I think they are just feigning surprise. I mean, maybe there's some hardcore people that are like, no, I was totally a believer, but we were never going to go down. It was going to be the super cycle or whatever. 4-year cycles are dead and all this other shit. And it's like, look, you can't just, even if you were of the opinion that, okay, minor emissions are really low, I'm just going to ignore all those Coinbase wallets, all those crypto native exchanges with all those coins on it, all those OG wallets, waiting for liquidity to come into the market. Even if you were going to ignore all of that, for the people that have been here for a long time, they're still going to adhere to the cadence until there's enough liquidity in which there is no cadence. And this is just the very beginning stages. So, like,
This is why it fucking
I've,
pay guys. I'm telling you, it pays to study history and philosophy when it comes to trading, like you would not fucking believe. But continue.
yeah, I've been in markets for a long time. Like it's the same thing over in equity land right now. Everybody is pissing their pants with joy right now. You got SpaceX IPO coming up. You've got probably Anthropic. You've got I know Blue Origin was doing all their test firing and then blew up, but that all of that was to kind of piggyback later this year off of SpaceX IPO and the narratives after that kind of sucks all the liquidity out of things and then gets its correction and things kind of settle down. And they wanted to kind of move in that direction of indicating to the market either later this year or early next year, which but reality is, the market's overheated over there. It's not for anybody. I cut my teeth in '01 in the dot-com bubble and markets. That's when I was a young and learning and literally learned one of the best lessons in my life. And that is that shit can go on for way longer than you think it can, from 1999 until
Well, Landy,
until
I didn't know you were
'01.
that old. I thought you were young. You sound young. It's interesting.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I,
I wish I was young
I
Oh,
because
this
then my
guy's
back wouldn't
ancient.
hurt so
I would
much.
have guessed you were in your young 30s, late 20s, or something like that. Yeah.
Brother, brother,
What?
I wish.
He
No.
taught
I
you sound young. The
wish.
way you speak, you
No,
sound young.
if I threw with art, that's what I would say as well.
Yeah,
No,
that's the way. I mean, you're probably the oldest I could see you being is what, late 40s, maybe. I don't. I mean, I don't think
uh,
you're.
look, I'm older than I sound, I guess, but I've been around a while. And one of the things that with that is like everybody's making a big deal, like when Michael Burry was shorting and then he got blown out of his shorts and like all that kind of stuff because he acts like people act like he was the only person that ever shorted in '08. He's just the guy that came out and monetized the shit out of it. There was plenty of shops that were shorting. There was plenty of people making big calls on that for a very long time. Problem is, they were very early, and they got blown out and used as liquidity to keep fueling that shit. When everything blew up in '08, '09 timeframe. But like now, we're not even at the point where things are like stupid crazy, and we're probably going to get these very sharp corrections going forward in equities, and it's just going to keep chugging along. And I've said this on the wolf spaces, but one of the reasons why everybody's really despondent in crypto right now, and outside of prices being down, is they're looking at equities ripping and going, well, why isn't that bleeding over here? And it's because it's so far out on the risk curve. And the biggest part is if you look at the structural, the 2025 Q1 to Q2 transition crash, right? 20% in equities. You got another 10% this year, a little bit of, what was it, like just shy of 10% in SPY, right? So didn't break any macro structure, didn't break any monthlies. It was like higher lows, and it's been higher lows since the bear market. But what did Bitcoin do? It broke structure. Most of the majors didn't do too much and were already breaking structure before that in the first place here. So this is kind of normal transitionary stuff when you see. I think I look at this as a positive thing. We need distribution into TradFi. We need the joining together of that liquidity.
Dude, this is exactly what we were asking for in 2017 when we were skeptical with it.
Yeah.
We're seeing the infrastructure being laid down. Like I'm more excited
ICO.
than I've ever been, man.
Well,
Honestly, I think
ICO era,
it's
ICO, the ICO meta, right? It was like all of the same things that we actually are at the stage of being able to implement in terms of productization and tokenized stocks and RWAs. I mean, we've been talking about this shit forever.
I'm telling you, man. The time is like is if
It
you're
just
like
wasn't mature
if
enough.
Yeah, if you're an infrastructure fan, Aave, Pendle, all that kind of shit, whatever, that's actually generating revenue, that actually has like these like yield distribution stuff that just like is not only competitive versus TradFi, but is actually like uh safer in some way. Now that we have like an adoption of this kind of stuff, it's like more secure, it's more transparent, it has more treasury reserves. Like it's all becoming like a very real quality thing, which is why the number on the chart does not fucking bother me, man, until I capitulate. And I'm one of those people that's a long-term conviction type of people in it. So, but yeah.
I mean, I'm a Bitcoin guy. I'm a Bitcoin first guy. I'm exposed to everything else in crypto, obviously, but I'm a Bitcoin first guy. So I still refer to it as the apex predator.
I do too, by the way. I'm called Spider's Ether and all this kind of shit, whatever, but my majority portfolio is BTC. I invest in technology and I
Oh,
understand the technology that's being developed from an infrastructure level on Ethereum.
Yeah.
That's why, but
Yeah. I just wanted to get Landy's view on this. So I think that in the second half of this year, probably, within a month to 2 months. So my view on AI is that we're getting towards like an area where, you got maybe a month, 2 more months before you see like some momentum shifts with things like SanDisk, things like, Micron, all the stuff that's been going to the moon lately. And I think that you may see some type of potential rotation where you go from a dominant market there to, or excuse me, late. It's hard to, not the easiest thing to explain right now. But where those kind of lose some steam and Bitcoin starts to outperform them, in the second half of this year. And that kind of assumes that Bitcoin, I guess, hits a bottom, within a month, 2 months, or generally hits a bottom in that area. And what's interesting is if you look at Bitcoin versus Nvidia, it's kind of hitting. It actually lost the low slightly, but it's hitting that same similar area that it hit against Nvidia in early January of 2017, late December of 2016, before you had a big rally upwards. So my hunch here, and I don't know exactly when it's going to happen. My hunch here is overall in the second half of this year, you're going to see Bitcoin outperform, have a little bit of a momentum shift against AI, against Nvidia, against your triple Q, against your S&P 500.
so
Because go ahead, Landy.
have you heard my bull side of that? My bull side thesis.
No, but yeah,
I
no,
think
I'd love to
it's
hear it.
75-25. I think we got another leg down. And I think that we end up closing weeklies and head down for another leg. But there is, because of the macro compression on the monthly and quarterly, there is a shot. I think that it's not a high probability, but there is a shot that if Bitcoin just sweeps the lows and maintains closes above or around 60K, um, and then reverses, that it can further squeeze up and try to form a base higher that then could cause this to become a deviation of trend on the monthly time frame. Um, Spread
So
and I
I
talked
agree.
about this quite a bit actually, but I think that that is a much lower probability, and we would need to see things chill out, volatility to really stay low. You get the sweeps for liquidity, and then just kind of go sideways and form some structure that way. That then could lead to the monthly going back up later. But I think it's a very low probability. But that's where the compression
Yeah.
is, don't go lower and close any lower than like 55K or something on a monthly. And then there is a legit shot that the Bulls have, especially coming in. The longer that it holds out, then coming in towards the end of the year, I think that that would be kind of my base case. I'm not ruling it out, but it's not my first take.
So you think the odds are very, very, very low that, let's say, we already bottomed right now. You just bounced off your 200 weekly
There,
SMA, and that was the bottom. What do you think of
there's
that?
no, for me, there's no structural indication right now that 60K is the macro low, but that does not rule out that somewhere around this area that it could become a macro low. I just think it's a lower probability. Um, you know, I just, I have to see the closes. For me, that's how I base my trades. That's how I base my thesis for how I'm going to set my trades up for my zones where I want to look to, long or short or accumulate in this case. I think here and lower, I'm in accumulation mode, laddering in. I have no problem there. I mean, we could take another 50% draw. I don't care. Like, I'm going to ladder in the whole way. Bigger lots, the lower we go. Have fun. Unless I see a structural change, and then it's all about readjusting to that structure. Higher lows, any kind of trend breaks. Right now, I mean, the last higher high is the all-time high, so we would need to see, the confirmation on the monthly for this to be a lower high right here. And then if that would be the case, to break that, set a higher low or set a higher low, and then go and break, and then it's okay. I readjust, put the chips down.
I,
Let's
I
go.
I wanna add, I wanna add something to what Landy said here. I said it on the timeline when we were dropping to 60K first time. Assets in general don't bottom when prices go down. Assets bottom when prices go down and they fail to go down even lower. So whenever we're gonna see some sideways and some consolidation, not the type of structures that we have been seeing on this bear market rally. I don't think I remember any cycles in the past where Bitcoin bottomed on an angle. The last move that we had from 60 to upper 80s, it was just a bear market rally, and you can look at the angle of the market structure. With this new drop to 60, and hopefully it can, hold at 60s for the sake of the people who don't want to see lower prices. I don't know why, because I'm happy with lower Bitcoin. But if the 60s hold and we, range now and we go sideways for the summer, then we can talk about the macro bottom, but not in the angled move that we had from 60 to
Exactly.
80.
Yeah,
Exactly,
So
Brett. Yup. Uh-huh.
this
it's
is
a literal bear
this is
flag.
bear
Exactly.
flag, rising wedge,
I, w-
whatever
I
some
hate to
people want to
say it.
call it.
I hate to say it, but it's like I feel like some of the smart, the wise. No, I'm not even gonna say smartest, wisest, the most objective people. We're using probability and statistics, and we're all on the same page. We're sitting around the same campfire. I'm like, okay, this is weird, but it's what's on the paper. It's
But
what's on the page. You know.
but, But the hate that I got since we dropped under 100 is the same hate I got when I was the loudest bull during the bull run from 21K up until 100K. So, I don't catch bottoms or tops. I'm not that skilled. I was for 30 fucking months only bull. And even when we dropped to the carry trade, to the tariffs, I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't care what we see in the markets. The structure is telling me that we didn't top. We don't top on an angle. We top when we're gonna have a distribution, when we're gonna have a range. The structure is not telling me that we topped. We didn't have any new low for the weekly. Like since 100K, we didn't have any new high on the weekly. And I said, listen, I know that we dropped from 94. This looks like a nice bounce, but what I want to see is if we go above 85, which is going to be a negative territory for me, so I'm going to go neutral. And if we're going to go above 94, I don't give a flying fuck if I'm going to pay a premium, but I'm going to pay a premium and I know that I'm going to have a higher confidence that the bottom is in. So the same thing here. You know, I don't care if I'm gonna buy at 60, at 40, at 50. Already we are in a very good area for ROI for the next cycle. But we are not discussing this. We are not debating this. Some people just, I don't know, they want to be heroes or they just want to get some clout, etc. There is even now
Yeah.
with RSI, SMRSI, Ichimoku, whatever you want to use, week off, whatever, there is zero fucking signs that this is the bottom. And I'm open to any debates from Burry, Shmurry to whoever wants to debate on me on this. We have zero signs that we bottom. Can we bottom in the next period? Yes. Once we're gonna go above 74 and reclaim 85 now because these are the latest highs, yes, we can talk about the bottom. But for now, it's zero signs that we're at the bottom.
Yep.
Zero.
Look, I mean, the technical analysis that I do is primarily using my crayons to draw on the chart, and then I eat them. And I found that I have to use that particular strategy in that order because if I eat the crayons first, then I have nothing to draw with. So,
But don't you find it interesting, Landy, that there's like five of us on here that are all using different like data points and we're
Spiders. I'm sorry. He's talking about eating crayons, and it is the most important thing I have heard in my life. And
dude,
you
you gotta
interrupt.
eat the blue. You gotta eat the blue crayon, bro. Yeah.
yeah,
I
the
gotta.
raspberry, bro. Look,
I eat the
it-
green ones with Landy, so
Wait,
look,
so we're gonna start talking about smoking
this
weed
is
again now?
the reason why I make that reference, by the way, is because of all of the shit that guys like myself spread. I think even you, Evan, and many others, I'm sure, here that were calling for much lower all-time high macro top coming in than many wanted to hear, and we just constantly got people just coming at us all the time. And I was like,
For like
okay.
saying it's only going to 150 instead of 200 or some shit. You mean like that, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, because I was calling for a local top around 123 to 125, and like, oh, you're just an idiot. It's never going below $100,000. And then it was like, it's never going below 95. It's never going below 90, 85, 80,
Oh, there was a
75.
guy betting money that it was never going below 72K. He
I
blew
know a
out that
guy
bet
that
in
bet.
5 days. Yeah.
I know a guy that tried to bet me when arguing with me on stage about this, and was like, "You don't know where the market's going. Why don't you tell me where it's going to go?" And Bitcoin is trading at like, I don't know, 78, and I was like, "Well." If it gets above 78 to 80, I'm looking 82 and a half to 83. He's like, well, you want to put money on it? I was like, why? Who the hell are you? Why would I say you want to spin up an escrow and put money on it? Like, sure. But the last person you bet $10,000 with, you blocked them and ghosted them. So, and you never put anything in escrow. So, screw you. I kind of wish that he would have actually taken that bet with me because, I wasn't just like, I wasn't
Was
trying
this
to
like an
predict it.
actual person with a lot of followers, or just some
It was
rando?
Joe.
Oh wow. Well,
I
what
mean,
was the bet though? What was the?
I'm gonna pin you down. I'm gonna pin you down. Where's price gonna go next? I was like, well, above 80, it's probably gonna go to 82 and a half to 83. And I was trying to continue to say if it goes above there, I'm looking like 85, 86. Could even potentially go to like 89, 90. I was just literally calling out the monthly at 82 and a half to 83K, depending on your chart, if you're looking at spot or derivatives, perpetuals rather. And then the weekly overhead of that, which is 85 to 86 to 89 to 90. But I stopped at 82 and a half to 83, and I was like, man, okay, fine. Go ahead and keep telling me that I'm stupid. I'm not bullish. I should be bullish. I'm a stupid line drawer, crayon eater. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Wait, and then he called you a douchebag, right?
No, no, no.
No, he
Unfortunately,
wouldn't. He's
Tom.
usually he
Oh,
wouldn't
I
have
think
done
that
that.
was someone else. I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, Tom. I frustrated Tom. I was kind of poking at him a little too much. I feel bad for that. I apologize to him.
I don't even know who Tom
He did
is.
not. He did not accept my apology.
I don't know who is that. I have no idea who that even is.
It's not. Don't worry about it. It's not worth.
Yeah,
It's
let's
not
not. I don't
worth
want to
getting
get
into.
into.
Look, I
Yeah,
think he's a look. I genuinely think that there are good people here that just get spun out when prices are going up, and then very despondent, and you never see them when it's going down. That's all I'll say about that.
I think there's just that dichotomy of just the perma bull culture, which I mean, I don't really knock them too much because, like, if you're like the average person, what you like for the average person who doesn't really have time to and has no emotional control, like, you honestly probably are better off to just try to hold through because the average person, like, you probably freaking bought really high and it usually would be more advantageous for you to hold through because when you sell, you're probably going to be selling the low because you hold through for a while and you don't realize that the average bear market, lasts 10 to 12 months and you sell at month 6 and then it's just like, or you sell towards like I see where they're coming from. And I think there's always the case to be made to have a hodl bag, definitely. I mean, everybody's got different goals, but for the average, it takes a while, and I think we all could agree on this. It does take a while to get your emotions in check, and I mean, you just gotta like. I hate to say it, but the average person, they're just so freaking ignorant to when it comes to, if you could just sell the one thing like buy and die. If you could sell that, and then you could say like, okay, you didn't buy and die.
And
That's why
that's
you
what
lost
stops
money.
people's.
What's that?
That's why they can't even educate themselves, Evan, is because they're ignorant as fuck to begin with. But yeah.
But wait a second. I think it's much better to be a perma bull over the long run than to be a perma bear. You just have to take some profits along the way when you see that the structures change.
What are
Like on the long term,
perma bears though, spread? They're just skeptics, and they're
no,
Bitcoin
no,
haters or
no,
whatever.
no, 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 no. Their closet is very small.
They, dude, fuck me, bro.
Well, was that a gay joke or in the closet? I didn't understand that.
Uh,
I didn't.
look,
I didn't
It's
get
getting
that.
it's getting smaller and smaller with each cycle. Their closet, so they're gonna get out sooner.
They
Are,
have
are
to
you
walk
saying like
out of
their
the
penis is
closet.
getting
Yeah.
smaller? I don't. I don't. I
No,
don't
I don't speak about others, men. Leverage levels, but I just spoke about their closet.
yeah, it's
oh, okay. I think I get what you're saying. Yeah. I think. I think I. Yeah. Yeah.
What the
look.
fuck?
Hey, this
I
is this
blame
is
Matt
late night
C.
uncensored
This shit's
space, my
going off the
friends. Yeah.
rails.
I
Yeah.
blame
We're
Matt
keeping it.
C. This
Yeah,
is all
people
his
in and out
fault.
of the club. This is like South Park, Tom Cruise in and out of the club. That episode of South Park was hilarious with Tom Cruise in the closet. He sued them and lost because of that. He was so butthurt over that. I found that so funny. Um, but let's see who do we have here? We had Matt. See what's going
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
Matt?
I want to see what Matt is saying. I'm really curious. I
Yeah.
respect.
Well, what's up, guys? I was chasing that capitulation candle a couple hours ago, so I had to get some Z's. But yeah, I can't, like a moth to flame. I see extreme uh oversold levels on RSI, and I can't help but chase a capitulation. So you know, I was listening to I think it was Evan said earlier, and Landy said earlier, like honestly, at this point, past what are we, 6 months past previous all-time high, you could probably just start blind DCAing and you'll be fine. But I mean, it's entertainment, right? Like the whole we know that if you want to get the if you want to try to chase some of the best possible prices, it's going to happen in a capitulation candle. So whether it was June 2022 or November 2022 with FTX, like that capitulation is when you might get the lowest of the low. Does it really matter when we look back in 2027 and 2028? No, no one's going to remember if your average was 65 or 70 or 58. Like the farther we go out into next bull market, the less it matters what your average was in the bear. But I mean, buying in the bear market, that's just that should be your number one goal. And then if you want to add a level of entertainment for yourself and try to get like local lows, what else are we going to do? A bear market's going to last a year long. You might as well entertain yourself along the way.
Yeah, it just depends on whether you want to get a night's sleep in between it all. But yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I
fuck
went to
sleep.
sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently you guys are still up.
Well, hey, Matt,
I
Matt,
was
you're
sleeping
waking
like a
up at
baby.
2 a. Wait, you went to sleep and woke up at 2 a.m. here? It's
Oh,
2:20 where I am.
I'm on Euro time, so it was more like
Oh,
a cat nap. Yeah.
There could be
gotcha.
some of us that are late night workers too, overnight healthcare staff, type shit. Mhm.
Is
Yeah.
that what you're doing, Spiders? I thought you were just smoking weed.
I'm home. I'm off work right now, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
reveal the capacity in which I do for work. But yeah, I do work in healthcare, all that kind of shit, and I work overnight. So
Gotcha.
that's why I'm a night
Cool.
owl. But
Feel you. I feel you. Nice, nice. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, it does get entertaining. There's the bull porn, there's the bear porn, all that throughout all these things. But yeah, I mean, for the average person with a normal job, I mean, really, it's just buy and fucking hold, like hold it in for a few years. You know what I've hold it. What the fuck am I saying? Hold for a few years. Don't
Hey,
sell for.
constipated.
What the fuck am I talking? It's late. It's late. But yeah, I mean that's the main thing. Yeah, if you can just, I mean, I think the thing too is like, obviously, what would have worked, what is panic selling and selling while you're down would have only really worked well with altcoins generally. With garbage, generally, panic selling works better with garbage because, look at Cardano right now. It's at what, 19 cents? I mean, that thing is falling off a cliff. Charles Hodgkinson, he's so desperate, he's going to go to Evan Aldo's space and talk to me. My God. We
Wait,
that's
he
how
was in
you
here?
no, but he's gone to spaces. He's gone to small spaces. I've heard they're really.
That's
I mean,
fun.
I was talking to him the other day.
yeah. Tom was talking to him. I mean, yeah. How was that? What did you talk about?
I don't know, mostly just listening to him try and show Cardano.
Yeah, yeah.
Fun.
Anything interesting? Any bull porn? Good bull, some good bull porn there.
I think he was just, trying to talk about how it's still doing good and how you should still buy it and how it's still not
Still
overpriced.
Oh,
And
do.
what the
Oh,
fuck? Not overpriced.
It's definitely not overpriced. He's right on that one.
Oh
uh,
yeah, yeah.
that's
No,
awesome.
no, no. It's still overpriced. It still can go down 50,
That's
60%
awesome.
from here.
I think it
Actually,
can go lower.
what you're saying is true.
Yeah.
Actually,
Wow. I just looked at. I did. I'm like you, Evan, and others. I just primarily focus on Bitcoin. I only just looked at some of these crypto prices. What the heck? Look at ETH, 1775 on ETH. Oh my goodness. Solana,
Solana
Solana
got
fell to
wrecked.
You
$70.
gonna
XRP.
Oh my
you
Look
gonna
wow.
how
love
far
it.
Tom Lee's down.
You're gonna love Ethereum under
Oh,
Oh, did anybody
1,500.
that's
see
so
how
brutal out
ridiculous?
there.
Tom Lee looks like he's dying. That guy's got some the weirdest.
Bro, he's literally issuing prefs. He's literally doing the sailor playbook to get more money.
they're
That
both
guy's
gonna
gonna
they're both
implode. I
running out of
think.
they have 6 months of runway. You know that, right? It's kind of terrifying to see what could unravel with.
Yeah.
But I don't. And here's
Yeah.
another thing. I don't think if they unravel, that means Bitcoin is done or whatever. Fuck that. This thing is here to stay. But they're going to be done subjectively, not us holders. But yeah.
Yeah.
Evan, you know my
I mean,
theory on
don't you think they
Convert.
just keep DCAing in and just buying more and more and more, like Michael Saylor? No,
I
They're
mean,
not. With
The
what buying
only
power?
the only saving the only saving grace they have is that they do have the staking capacity on ETH where they can basically stake what they have and sell what they're getting on their stakes to
Yeah.
continue operations. Where Sailor can't.
Well,
Sailor's kind of
the
fucked.
part that I feel so fucked about Sailor, in my thesis, is the stretch product that he's done.
Yeah, stretch your fucking ass
Dude,
cheeks to
I
baby.
feel like we could have a 3 hour space conversation about how fucked this
I,
financial product is, and no one is talking
I had a
about it. So
space yesterday explaining it to people
I
how
got to check
fucked it
that out
is.
if it's actually on a record or anything, because
No, I don't record my spaces. I say
yeah,
naughty
I
things.
understand that
Smart.
philosophy, but and I
Very
don't mean
smart.
to dive into a whole new topic here at 3 in the morning, but
Well, I can sum it up in 20 seconds. So they've created a financial product where they don't have legal obligations to continue paying the dividend or even keeping the peg. And it only sits senior to the equity if the company goes bankrupt, but the holders of Stretch have no mechanism to actually force the company into bankruptcy. And so if anything bad ever does happen, they'll just take the dividend away, the peg will break and it'll go to $0. You have zero recourse.
yeah,
It's a horrible
it's
product.
Can
terrifying.
I say something? I want to say something to what Mugu said. Do you know what scene came to my mind when he is fucking explaining this for the last 20 seconds? The Big Short scene in the diner where Michael Baum is listening to that PM where he is
Oh
explaining the
yeah.
Yeah, he's like,
CGO's BD.
yeah,
What the
No.
fuck was this? Like,
Yeah,
Dude, I
with
just
the
yeah,
fell
it's
off my
horrible,
stretch
chair.
bro.
and the stretch and scratch and
Yeah, bro,
scratch
put
and
your grandma into it. It's great. It's a savings account, bro. It's like a bank account. Just put your grandma's
it's
401k
it's
into it.
it's
that
it's all it's we were calling it evil genius because it's it's more risky the worse a bear market is. People look at that dividend as some sort of guarantee. Instead, they should be looking at it as the first thing that gets cut if shit hits the fan. And you yeah,
I
yeah.
seen a video. I seen a video today. I don't know who it was, but some guy literally said that the SPY is cooked because why would you invest in the SPY when you can invest in Stretch and it gives you a higher
My
return
Oh
fucking
my
over
friend
god.
time?
sent me that video too, bro. It's dude,
Yeah, someone sent
what
me
the
that, and I'm
fuck,
like, oh
Wait,
dude?
my
that wasn't
god.
just a troll? That was serious? Oh
No,
my
that was
god.
real. It was real.
Sweet summer child only born in the bull market. Like what are they younger than 5 years old? Were they not here for 2022 when everything was down?
Seriously
not
though, huh?
everyone is old like Mogu and Landy. Matt, chill.
I guess. What is that, Gen Alpha? Like, how young did you have to be that you weren't in the market in 2022?
Yo, I was just
I
gonna
mean,
start
there's a lot of
pitching.
20-year-olds. I mean, yeah, there's 18. You know, I mean, during 20, how old was I when 2021, 23? I mean, you know,
Dude,
My
Wall Street
god.
has to be talking about this behind closed doors in the circle, shit, though, right?
Bro.
Like investors
Behind
have to be
closed
knowing.
behind closed
Well, I
closets.
mean, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
someone. I'm sure there's shorts
yeah.
on
I'd
both sides of some of these products.
oh, they just think he's fucking nuts. That's what they've always thought. They've always thought he was fucking nuts, and now it's even worse. I would say. Like, I mean, the thing too is like you already won, bro. You already got it right. Like, why do you have to? I mean,
Evan, that was I was thinking that a couple of months ago. I'm like, dude, you already won. What the fuck are you doing with this other than trying to put the crown on your head, like, and just be an asshole while you're doing it and look like an idiot? I don't know, man.
I mean, I think if you're it, well, I guess the one saving grace is he's got to become like a Warren Buffett. He's got to diversify
Well,
quickly.
he's gonna
He's
be
got to,
the
Yeah.
internet is gonna meme him, dude. Like for he's going to
yeah.
history
Well, the
regardless of what
product
happens.
we were saying yesterday, we were calling it kind of an evil genius product because just in a bear market, people reflexively flee to something that they see as, oh, it's a steady return, oh, it's a set return I can
plan for, than I can count on. But he's doing it all wrong. With he should be focusing his efforts on extending the runway. That runway, he should be bragging that, like, hey, I've put the runway from 6 months to 8 months to 12 months to 15 months to 2 years to 3 years. Like, that should be the bragging right. It's not that. But instead, he's missing, uh, he's fumbling it by taking part of the runway down from whatever it was, 15 months or 2 years
So
down to
what do you
6 months, by
he's not
buying back
stupid.
debt.
I mean, I don't think he's genuinely stupid. What do you think is his actual goal? Like, other than to just get on the fucking front page of everything. Like, I don't.
I
Well,
mean,
well,
Rich,
there's two. There's
go ahead, man.
it's there. Well, I mean, you can make a clever financial product, but then also to put yourself in the mindset of the average investor who'd be looking at any of this instead of Bitcoin. That's a hard shape to square, so to speak. Like, I get why he took some of the cash and paid off future debt, because that does technically reduce your rate of bankruptcy. Sure. But by taking the runway cash for stretch from whatever it was, 2 years to 6 months, you obviously hurt the thesis on your stretch product, because everyone is like, okay, wait, so now the thing only has 6 months of money to last in a bear market. It makes it less attractive, flat out, to anyone, to any investor. Like, this thing.
Maybe they know that it's already cooked.
Yeah, yeah, could be. And so they're
Yeah.
pretending.
Because the way that you look at it, it's free money. They never have to pay that money back again legally. Like, literally, that it's literally
Well,
in the
the
filing
whole thing,
for
I know
stretch.
he can do this, and I understand the reason why he's doing this, but I'm just like, how does he not get fucking in trial after it's all said and done?
Because we're in crime era.
Crime
Trump's in
cycle.
office, committing
Exactly.
billion dollars of
You can call
insider
it you can
trading.
call
Yeah.
it
crime
prediction
season. It's
market, and
crime
it's not
season since
gambling,
January
guys.
2025.
Yeah. Guys, if I call it
Yeah, like
predicting, it's not gambling, and it's totally legal,
right.
All this
and
shit is going to end so badly.
But I'm
Everything's
saying,
going
though,
to,
yeah.
guys,
exactly.
it's going
And
to
Yeah,
be
it
a
will.
Great
maybe,
Depression. It's going to
maybe
be
I'm.
worse than anything you've ever seen.
I agree.
Yeah, do you know
But this.
how it was so predictable that Bitcoin was about to crash? Trump literally sold $400 million of Bitcoin like a week ago.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
through his
I didn't see.
to his
those
to the
vehicles.
company they
Yeah,
sold
Yeah,
go,
four
go
hundred
through
to
his
million.
LFI.
vehicles.
Go
Yeah, it was
look
at like
at Argo.
70.
So you don't think they had a short on that shit?
They
They
absolutely
might have
did.
too. They might have
They
had a
Yeah,
they
short
did.
they
too.
just fucking tripled their money, man.
Yeah, insider trading, baby.
Yeah,
Possible.
it's incredible the amount of insider trade. See, Landy's got his
And
hand
it's
up.
legal. It's legal for them,
There is no such thing as insider trading. Like there is no
not for them.
healthcare, nor insider trading.
It's
And
called
it's
government
his
trading.
sons, it's his cronies, it's so many fucking people being isolated and protected. But I'm telling you, man,
Well,
that shit's coming down eventually. Trump ain't gonna be in office fucking
What price
forever.
do they buy back though? That's the question.
well,
You know what I mean?
you won't know because they'll do it
The meme's
OTC.
58K, but you
You
never
you
know.
you won't
We don't
know.
know.
I
We
They'll
don't
do
mean,
it
know the
on
bottom.
it'll
OTC.
be when, honestly, when they're within 24 hours or 48 hours of actually signing a real peace agreement. Then they'll
No,
get
no,
their
no, no.
Bitcoin
they'll get their
What they're
piece.
gonna
No,
do?
no, no, they'll get their positions
They're
in.
gonna
Yeah,
go
yeah, they'll go in.
long. So Trump is gonna go long, and then the U.S. government's gonna buy
Yeah.
like 1 million coins, and then announce a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and the next day, and then Trump goes up like ten
Yep.
thousand
Yeah, and then he
percent.
makes like
Yeah.
$10 billion in a day.
So you
Yeah.
somebody asked like what is Michael Saylor's plan? I think his plan is actually going to be utilizing the underlying Bitcoin. There's no way that he doesn't do that in the future. If you look at the product stack that he built out, everybody forgot about Bitcoin Orange, but he did not. Um, there's various companies that are connected to
And you think he's just gonna
Saylor.
be insulated by the government? Because I
No,
agree with you. I think that's
I think that they protect him to a point because
no.
he's such a large holder.
Well, I don't think what you got to understand is the with the way that it's seen as property, and the way that it's um, the way that the regulatory agencies have seen it up to this point. and we'll continue to see it forward, is as property. And that is something that, for what he's doing right now, if he continues to pay the dividends or doesn't, I think at the end of the day, no matter what down the line, if you look at the companies that are associated, a lot of the venture capital that was coming into Bitcoin on to develop stuff on chain, post ordinals, and like all that kind of stuff, all of the different products that are being worked on, time locks, whatever it is that you're looking at, right? He's looking for a way to utilize the underlying Bitcoin, and he will. He'll figure out a way to do it. Whether you think it's a secure way to do it or an insecure way to do it, he's going to figure out how to do it. Um,
I think
Well,
I what I ultimately think he's going to do, I think there will be some ways to utilize that collateral asset to get revenue, whether it's like covered call strategies, whether that is spread strategies, you name it, you can use it, whether you're lending some of that out to some people. But ultimately, I think MicroStrategies turns into a Berkshire Hathaway where they start actively, like once, let's say in 10, 15 years, 20 years, Bitcoin's $1 million or whatever the fuck it is, they will actively sell it or use it to buy cash
yes.
flowing businesses. And I think it will just be a Berkshire Hathaway where they're sitting on, theoretically, they could be sitting on trillions of US dollar denominated, right, USD, but in Bitcoin form. And they could use that to buy cash flowing business. And the whole business model is just returning cash
And
to
then at that
investors at
point
that
too,
Yeah.
it
point, like
doesn't
Warren
even
Buffett
matter
is.
if inflation is at the level it is, because they just keep making fucking cash flow businesses. And
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. They'll start paying a dividend, and then they'll start this. They'll have the stock that goes up because they'll have cash flowing businesses. It's literally just gonna. I guarantee you, if it doesn't blow up, it will be Berkshire Hathaway 2.0 and probably bigger
yeah,
than
Yeah.
no,
Berkshire.
I
And
agree.
what the bigger thing I think right now is, a lot of people looking at what he's doing, and then some of the models that some of the other DATs are trying to employ, which are very similar in many respects. I think that there's a lot of ripe fruit to pick out of these DATs, because most of them are worthless, outside of the Bitcoin, right? In that,
Oh,
so
100%.
I think that they will go away or be absorbed anyway. Um, I think that
El Sailor's gonna buy them. That's what's
that's
gonna
kind of what
happen.
I'm getting at, and I actually think that Sailor is going to endure. I think that the speculation of him, of everything collapsing there, I don't think there's actually a realistic path to it. Um,
No, there's no path to it. He has no
exactly.
liquidation price. He can take the dividend to zero. He's bought back in his debt. If he gets into any trouble, smash dividend to zero. He's fine. That company's not
Yeah,
going
and for
bankrupt.
anybody that's like, oh well, why wouldn't he get in trouble for this? Look, this kind of stuff is done in various ways, using various assets, and sometimes just using stock, all the time. There's like, if you think that this is crime, go spend some time in traditional markets for a little while.
Yeah,
Like,
these are
this
legal
is this is
financial. These are legal
this is
financial
nothing.
products. Exactly. I mean, the
Yeah,
only thing.
The
What
only
is he guilty of?
the only
False advertising?
the
Maybe
the
that's not.
yeah,
yes,
that's the only
that would be the
thing.
only thing.
That's the only thing that
Right.
he's going to get hit by. I think once the Republicans get out of office, 2028 or whenever it is, I think he will probably be hit with some type of suit from the SEC with the language he's using around stretch, bank account,
Yeah,
savings account, yield, digital credit. I think eventually that's what hits him. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to be that big of
So he'll
a
slap
have
on the
financial
wrist.
hit.
they'll
All
have a
these
That's
fine.
gonna be a slap on the
all
Yeah,
wrist
these
he'll
companies do
they'll
it.
get a fine sometime in
Yeah,
2030. That's
yeah,
kind
and they'll
of
push
kind of
that
whoop de
out
doo
too. They'll litigate that out too,
for
and
sure.
like, it's literally, it'll be a slap on the wrist. And by that point, Bitcoin will be so much higher, it won't even matter.
Yeah.
so what is your guys' time frame for Bitcoin to go back up?
End of the year. New
Q4,
Year's.
Q4,
Yeah.
Q4, and Q1 2027.
Yeah,
yeah,
somewhere
I mean
around
that's
there.
what everybody
Yeah. I
thinks.
had
Yeah.
Yep.
I was saying I don't know 100K by Christmas Day. I just like the sound of it, the rhyme.
Just because you, I was gonna
But it's
say, just
very
because you like it.
but it's modest. It's that's we 60K.
That's what we used
Yeah,
last year
bro.
too, though.
People are moths to a flame. Those
I
big
hate to
round
say it,
numbers, they
we're all
can't help
trade.
it.
Yeah, we're all
Right.
traders
100K was that
here, but
100K back in 2025. That was spot on. And
you know that's going for 1 cent right now on Poly Market.
by 100K by Xmas.
Christmas.
You trying
Yeah,
to make me
Oh,
FOMO?
I'm not.
What
I'm
are you
not.
want
I'm
me to
not. I'm
FOMO
not
you?
at
I might
all.
have
No,
to
I
get
don't
in
think
on that
it's
one.
really it's
hmm.
1%, dude.
That doesn't
It's
sound
that low.
one
Yeah, it's
cent.
Yeah,
disgusting because of the capitulation today. It was at 17 cents when I went to bed, and when I woke up like 4 hours ago, it was at 1 cent. I was like, "You got to be
No,
fucking
listen.
kidding me!"
Wow,
I don't
that's
think.
a nice
Let
bet.
me see
Listen,
Yeah,
I
that.
Just
don't
Let
put
think
an
me
he's gonna
ARB on
touch it.
that.
let me check it that. Let me
I
check it
don't think he's
out.
gonna touch it, but I put some money on that.
Does it have any liquidity
no,
though
Oh
at
yeah,
that's
one?
the
it's
problem.
liquidity
That
now.
that
56
was the
bucks.
problem.
Hey, you can
Yeah,
maybe
claim
that
it.
was
bet
the issue.
Yeah.
You can pay
maybe
for brunch,
80
guys.
to 90. I don't know.
All right, guys. I'm gonna take $5 out of liquidity. Don't steal that $5 liquidity. I need to buy that
Hey,
$5
dude,
bet.
I'm
Scoop
not
that
trying to
50. Hey,
get
that's a
catch anybody
50.
here, but
That's an Uber ride,
I
guys, you
I
know?
actually I got super lucky. I bet on MicroStrategies to sell Bitcoin by May 31st. I bought it at 14 cents. It was only like a $25 bet, and then I sold it when he reported it, and I sold it before they basically marked it as a no. So I made out like a fucking bandit, and everyone else got fucking rug pulled on that market. I actually think that Polymark is
I mean,
probably going to
yeah,
get
talk
taken to
about
court over that.
sketchiness in a future lawsuit, how they're arbitrary, what is when yes isn't a yes and no isn't always a no. And
Uma baby,
Yeah,
Uma.
yeah, I mean,
This gets into the brain wallet stuff because like some of these exchanges have custodians where like they memorize the keys. So like this does get kind of far into the like intellectual
it's
property
like, oh
stuff.
yeah,
And
how it's like he reported the sale of those Bitcoin at a price of 77,000. It's like, okay, please show me on a chart where he could sell Bitcoin over $77,000 after May 31st. It's like it's so obvious. It's like how do you deny and mark that as no when he average price sell was $77,000, which it wasn't that price until like literally like 3 days before May 31st. It's like, really? You're gonna mark that as a
He
no?
literally sold a lower high after a trend break. I'm very proud of him.
Guys, I have a
Ironically,
question for
out of all
I
of
have a
these,
question for the
all,
for Bitcoin
all,
OGs after Mobo finishes.
the funniest thing out of all Sailor's Bitcoin buys, that sell was his best executed.
nice.
Like in terms of prices, like
Yeah.
technical, but that was his best Bitcoin transaction by a mile.
What was the
Yeah,
question, Mister?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm a nerd. Although I look like a European Mexican drug lord, I'm a really big nerd. So, do you think that in the future, and this is like very far discussion, will we have different premium prices for Bitcoin being mined in different countries?
No,
Hmm.
I don't see how.
Um.
It defeats the purpose.
I
no,
think
because
what
of
you
the
might
hash
end up
price.
having
Not mine, no,
spread
not
on
not
exchanges.
mind, not
Yeah.
mind. But if you have Bitcoin that is linked on chain to specific things, I think it will be discounted.
So you think that the Bitcoin that is going to be mined and precisely tagged as mined in Iran or I don't know other countries, other like North
Yeah,
Korea?
so think about it right now. If Iran is mining Bitcoin, or let's say you know someone in Iran who's willing to give you Bitcoin, you would be a fucking idiot to be buying that Bitcoin at spot prices. Because if you're a law abiding citizen, you get that Bitcoin from whatever source it is and you deposit that into Coinbase, that is instantly frozen. And the onus now becomes on you to prove that it wasn't some fucking terrorist funding or illicit activity. And so there would be a massive discount on that type of
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's going to be different prices depending on where the sources are linked. It's to. It's not where it's mined. Like if you Virgin mine a block in Iran, and the very first thing that it goes to you, there's no
Yeah.
provable way to be like, oh, this is Iranian
Yeah.
miners or whatever, because there's no illicit activity
There's no
behind
history.
mining. But
Yeah.
there's there's no history. There's illicit activity if like if you have a huge chain, even if you mix the shit, right? And Coinbase is gonna ask you, like, oh, we seen that you sent us Bitcoin that was mixed,
Yeah.
frozen,
I think where
right?
you might see the difference in price, the premium to Magoo's point is yes, the exchanges that are in quote unquote international waters or out of US jurisdiction. So yeah, you can get an excellent price in Coinbase Prime, but you run the risk of if your coin history is persona non grata, you might get your funds might get frozen. But if you want to but
I
if you
re-
want to sell it
I
to,
remember in
excuse me, but if you want to buy or sell it from, Binance Middle East or Binance International, and they're like, yeah, you're going to pay a higher price, but they
I,
promise you they
I
do
still
not
have
answer the
Silk Road
call
Sats,
if the
bro.
U.S. Treasury comes calling.
I can't move them. I
yeah,
can't
like
move them to an exchange because I'll just get the FBI knocking on my door.
You're old, man. You have Silk Road from Genghis Khan.
yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, I remember like that's the one interesting thing about Bitcoin and I guess crypto in general is there's no it's not like securities where there's a tape. Everything's trading in its own silo, and in a perfect world it's all being arbed down to the same prices, but obviously certain market makers and participants aren't on certain exchanges, and so you see a deviation in prices from certain exchanges to the next exchange, right? And looking back at 2017, I remember trading on Japanese exchanges and American exchanges, and there was a 20 to 30% premium in Japan. And so you just buy in the States and sell it in Japan in 2017. It was hard to get Japanese accounts. You need to literally a Japanese citizen. You need to know someone who could get an account set up there. But if you could, there's a 20 to 30% arb at any given time, honestly. It was insane. The amount of money I made in 2017 doing that is fucking like it should be criminal how much money I made doing that.
But it
Yeah, the
Um,
definitely
same. Do you
wasn't
remember
ob-
the Do you
for
remember
the
the
recorded
mining?
space. It definitely was not criminal what any of us were doing. It was above board.
Yeah.
no, it wasn't. Technically, it's
They were
not.
doing and but they were doing the same thing back to us in 2013, 2014. Remember the quote unquote early ASIC Bitcoin mining days, pleb
Yes,
mining days,
I do.
Magoo basement mining. Yeah, so you'd have middlemen on doing this the other direction. They'd be buying ASICs for uh, at spot price, if you will, or floor price from Asia, and then upselling them to us desperate plebs here in the U.S. because none of us could speak directly to some factory in China.
They were even doing that in
Yeah,
2021, right? Like the fucking S19s. Like you could get them fucking out of China. You pay like basically like probably like $1,500 a pop, and literally at the Pico top in 2021, an S19 was going for like 9K.
I mean
Yep.
Like
S
it's
nine S9s were
No,
like,
S19.
no S9 didn't go that much. S19s, S9 for like the previous
yeah, yeah,
model,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Are there?
But they're like
But
the
the
AK-47
S19s are
workhorses.
the
Th-
yeah the but yeah that's
No, you're right.
and I remember like actually looking one of the most retarded things was ASIC backed collateral loans.
Oh
Do you
my
remember
gosh, yeah.
NYDIG
bro.
doing those and basically taking
Do
miners
you
as
remember
collateral?
Foundry
Argo,
doing this?
Argo,
Come on.
Argo died
Yes,
doing that. Yeah.
Well, we could get into CD
like that.
mining
Several
history if you
Bitcoin
want.
miners died doing that.
Yeah, these like that like I heard about that when when NiGig first started doing that basically in the later part of 2020, and I'm like, what in the fuck are you doing? These things have a shelf life to start off with, right? And these people are going to default on these loans. You're literally giving them real dollars for these machines that they one don't have anywhere to plug them in to begin with. Like it's
Yeah.
just like they're gonna give them back to you. You're gonna take your money and then throw a bunch of fucking metal on your front doorstep. And then I remember in 2022 when it was all blowing up, I remember all the Telegram channels that I was in for mining that there was people coming in and it was definitely 9dig and associates looking to offload tens of thousands of S19s for
Pennies.
like a thousand
50
dollars.
cents on
They're
the
like
dollar
they're like
or worse.
they're like, we'll sell them to anybody, whatever. We'll sell you. No, it wasn't even 50 cents on the dollar, my guy. It was like fucking 5 cents on the
Jeez.
dollar. And they were just looking to offload them, like 10,000.
Right.
Like, like some guys, like, oh, I have 40,000 S19s to sell. 40 fucking
That sounds like
thousand. Like,
is that must have been Argo or Core Scientific or no No,
Nidig,
no, no, no.
Nidig,
Who blew?
all
They
these
are making it
lenders.
on
Who
NFT,
blew up?
guys.
Who blew
They are
up and gave
making it
them
on
back to
fun on
NYDIG? I
NFT,
was trying to
guys.
figure out who blew up. Those old names from 2022.
Bro, we can go
Yeah.
back to like you want to go down the history of this kind of like Nightig was trying to do the Foundry play. That's literally they were just trying to replicate the same thing, but they did it at the wrong
Mm.
time because what Foundry did is they were coming in, swooping in and saving miners, basically bridge loans, and then just took them over. Um, but the funniest part about this is the really cool thing that ended up coming out of that was that a bunch of dudes picked up a bunch of miners on the cheap, started ripping ASICs off the boards and putting them on single board computers and making little lottery miners out of it, which I think is actually really cool. So there were certain players in the game that started doing that. Look, there's the mining industry side of things. Well, Matt, you're pretty familiar with it, right? So there is it's a whole economy in and of itself, right? But the depreciation is crazy. So back in the day, if you wanted to stay in business, right? Oh, hey, oh, the music stopped. Crap, we're gonna have to sell. Oh, well, instead of selling, why don't we just give you a loan? Well, okay, yeah, and then they do the math, and you figure, okay, yeah, I can pay back this loan. Oh, wait, you defaulted on loan? Those are our miners now, and then you have the largest, miner on the network. That is, private pool.
But I mean, honestly, what they should have been doing was let's take a loan against your facilities, your
Yeah,
infrastructure,
not
Dude,
the
they took
or
ASICs.
yes, they did that.
or your Bitcoin, or your literally your Bitcoin,
They
not
took
the.
everything, bro.
Not the
That's just like if
Yep.
well,
you,
yeah, but
I'll
no, no,
walk you
but
through
they
the
shouldn't
history
say.
someday. It's a long
But they shouldn't
conversation.
have even my no. But my point is, they shouldn't have even bothered with the miners because uh, to Magoo's point, in a bear market, it could go to 10 cents or 5 cents on the dollar. Not only is it de facto already going to be an older model anyway, a used older model anyway, but in a Bitcoin bear market, I mean the value of a miner is falling faster than the
Well,
value of Bitcoin. It
no,
just
bro,
has
it
to.
was the whole business. They took the whole business, including those
Right.
lower cost power plant agreements that some of
But
them were setting up back in the day
right, but
before
see
off grid got really
that's
rolling.
valuable though. Yeah, that's more valuable. They should have just given like and valued the miners at nothing, honestly. I
They
mean, yeah,
basically
they
did.
made some of them made out like
But
bandits. You're absolutely
NIDIG,
right.
NIDIG didn't do this. They did it
Yeah,
wrong. But back
Nidig
in the
fucked
day,
up.
this
Yeah.
was very, very common back in the day, man.
Galaxy did it right. They literally took over Argo's massive facility in Texas and flipped it into AI.
I'm surprised Galaxy hasn't been hit with so many lawsuits with what they've done in the crypto over the last fucking 10 years. Mike Novogratz is like the shadiest fucking Mr. Clean you've ever seen in your life. That fucking dude from Mr. Clean. Like the Terra Luna, like how you have Do Kwon basically like it. Mike Novogratz is equally as guilty as Do Kwon is at basically
Is
perpetrating
it
fraud in every way you can.
how is he how did he not get subject to
Well,
clawbacks?
because
That's
he
an
definitely sucked
impressive
someone's
Dude,
thing
dick.
to
I
do.
That
Yeah.
his involvement in EOS, the biggest ICO scam to ever hit crypto, his involvement in BlockFi, like he touched everything. Anything that he touched last
Yeah.
cycle blew
Oh,
up.
BlockFi. I forgot about
Like
BlockFi. Yeah.
everything
But I mean the Terra Luna
Matt,
comes to mind. But
Matthew,
it's not that the tattoo he got for Terra Luna, it's that he got all of his and his clients' money out
before it blew up.
before
Yeah,
it
that's
blew
the
up.
fraud.
Exactly.
That's the fraud.
Yeah.
there is a meme, there is a GIF on Twitter. It says the secret ingredient is crime.
Yeah, free real estate. Yeah. It's free real estate. Yeah, it's crime. In crypto, there's definitely no shortage of crime. Like look what happening now with Trump. The amount of crime that Trump is committing, not just in crypto, but just in markets in general. Like we're gonna look back at this, or maybe not even us, but like in 50 years in history books, I think Trump's presidency, like even though I'm mostly right leaning, like I think you're gonna look back in the history books and like this is going to be the beginning of the end of like the office,
yep.
like the presidency. In
I
term,
dude, that's so
I
weird that you just brought that up because yeah, I'm sorry. Go on, bro.
because I think after this presidency, I think the presidency is going to be neutered, in a major way, and there's going to be
In a
they're
way
going
that
to
I don't hate to, but
Post Nixon years. Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
like yeah, but us small government guys are gonna fucking be like, fuck yes, this is exactly what we fucking need, right? You know?
You say that, but then you realize
Mm,
becomes of it. Like
it's not small government. All it is, it's
it's
just
more
shifting.
bureaucracy. It's
Yeah,
shifting
it's
the
shifting
power.
more.
Yeah,
It,
Exactly. It's just shifting the existing power over to Congress, but all the power is still there,
yeah.
unfortunately.
So
well, right, because it's going to just be transitioning to these like super big blockbuster capital companies at that point. So yeah, okay, I'll be a little bit more phrasing on that. The people who insulate themselves, though, they're going to be a little bit more better fashioned to deal with it because unless those companies start bringing on like fucking mass communists, socialists, whatever,
that's no,
etc.
Well,
that's coming. That's
your
coming.
only hope. Well, your
Yeah, and I
only
fear
hope
that, but
is for this individual states need to grab whatever balls or
Power.
ovaries.
But
Yeah, they
that's what
need to
Trump.
grab their balls and ovaries
that's
and claw
I'm
back their state
that is
rights.
my
That's their only
though.
hope there.
That's
That
what's going to happen.
that
Yeah.
is
Well,
my thesis.
but that's your saving grace. So
Yeah.
every time you can, someone who gets fed up with, say,
Well, you got to
California and
pray
moves
at
to
night about
Texas,
something.
right?
Yeah, but you
Or
got
yeah, right, or gets fed up with New York and can move to Florida, you're okay because as long as you have examples and options of states that are doing it right, where people can, cheaply move to get out of states that are doing it wrong,
this
you're
isn't
all
even
right.
deep
But
state.
it, but no, but
What I
once
think
you,
is crazy. This isn't
but the
even deep
danger,
state
hold
shit.
on. The danger is if you let too much power get into the presidency or even Congress and you pull that power away from the states, now they're all beige. Now one state's just as fucked as the next state under federal rule. So that's the
That's
real
what Trump's
danger.
doing right now. Literally.
Ironically, yes, ironically it's
Yeah.
frustrating to shit, but
And
you're not wrong.
the worst thing that's happening now is the byproduct of Trump, like in the younger generations, which I don't relate to at all, whether it's millennials or Gen Zs or even Gen Alphas now. You have Bernie Sanders coming out basically saying we're taking a 50% stake or want to take a 50% stake, nationalize AI, and we're going to tax it. Like as an older person, and specifically as a libertarian, I'm like, oh my fucking God. But the thing is, that message fucking resonates so hard with the younger generation. There is a 0% chance that these AI companies are not going to be somewhat nationalized and fucking regulated out the wazoo and taxed to fuck. Because you have them going out there telling the world that their job is to destroy your job, right? And you have this younger generation coming out of school being like, wow, so not only did the future generation or the last generations completely cook the entire world economy and I can't buy a fucking house, now they're gonna fucking be making money off of me not having a job. Like, the dynamic's going to get pretty fucking scary when the boomers are finally fully retired and then there's more young people in voting. The young people are going to vote to pull the plug on boomers in the hospital. Like that's what's going to happen. It just looksicality through history and generational theory. There is going to be a huge tug of war power between boomers and millennials and Gen Zs. And it's coming in the next 10 to 15 years. And unfortunately, I personally think that we've seen the beginning, maybe the end, maybe the beginning of the end of capitalism. I truly believe
That's
that
fucking
over the time,
terrifying to even think about.
it is terrifying, and that's why you guys don't know my story, but I've evacuated myself from certain places in the world, and I have a passport portfolio where I can shield myself and my family. But I ultimately think that free market capitalism hasn't been around for 30 years. We have cronyism right now, and cronyism is going to get so bad to the point where socialism starts to look good, and that is what's going to lead to the fucking gay fucking UBI that's going to
Holy
create
shit, bro! You are
it's
literally
going
reading from a paper that I just got done writing. What the?
Yeah.
to
I wanted to comment on that. So I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. I'll try to be as brief as possible. Debt to GDP ratio keeps getting worse and worse in the US. You got China creeping you up your ass, and obviously anyone who doesn't think China is a threat to overtake the US and overall, world GDP is nuts. they got a good shot of doing it in the 2030s, maybe the 2040s at the latest. It's been 10 years since they've been the world's largest economy in terms of PPP. So, I mean, that's a major, major, major threat. We're similar in terms of debt to GDP ratio that we were in, or excuse me, that the UK was in kind of the early 1900s. All the modern superpowers normally lasted about 100 years. And now you're seeing two Roe v. Wade that was overturned. States' rights are getting stronger and stronger. Now, we all, we enjoy states' rights, as more libertarian conservatives here generally, crypto people. But the problem with it is that you're less unified as a country and you become more of like a European Union rather than a United States. And I think that you're going to become more of like a European Union once China overtakes the US as the world's largest economy. And that's kind of what's going to happen. I think the it seems like the business model or the next model, obviously the American superpower model was generally just laissez-faire capitalism for the most part. The Chinese model is authoritarian capitalism. It's kind of like the Hitler model, actually, believe it or not. Like Nazi Socialist Party, like they weren't really socialists. He just did that for marketing. It was authoritarian, it was capitalism, but we could take your shit if we want to. And I think that's kind of the future thing. Now, in terms of socialism, you definitely will likely see an AOC type figure, somebody like that in the 2030s, especially if unemployment gets really high. But the problem is what's going to happen with debt to GDP ratio gets up to 200%. That's kind of the magic number where everything implodes. That's where Greece went belly up. That's where the UK, that was around the 2040s in the UK, right after World War II. That was when it was clear that the US was now the superpower, not the UK anymore. So once that happens, generally actually it's probably good when that happens because you'll get more conservative people in and you'll lessen it down and you'll be the US is still has, it's still going to be very relevant. It's still going to be very strong for, I would say, at least the next 100 years, but it's going to be more like the UK. It's not going to be the world's largest economy. And I don't think
You're gonna see a
go ahead.
fracture from a unipolar world into a multipolar world, really, in terms of
So do
powers,
you
right?
think
Like the
that
US.
do you think that there's going to be like a massive exit from like U.S. Western tech at that point, and is it going to be in 30 years a better ratio to have Bitcoin versus the stock market? I'm
Oh
playing
yeah, like if you
I'm
even
playing
even
devil's
today, even
advocate,
today.
but
So
yeah.
like I'll even use today as an
Hmm.
example, and you've probably heard this statistic, but if you look at when you buy into the S&P 500 and what the PE is, that will dictate what your general returns are for the next 10 years. And historically speaking, if you buy to the S&P 500 today, you are going to actually not make any money over the next 10
Yeah,
years.
and especially in relative to any of these yield and or just straight up owning Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the US
Yeah.
stock market is basically still the jewel of the world because it is basically the first successor of the money printing. Where the money printing
Sure, I could
happens, it
buy
goes
that.
to
Yeah.
I mean, guy, if you even from right now, um, Bitcoin's in a bear market and we're all very frustrated and prices down only. But if you just pull up a 5 year chart, compare S&P 500 to Bitcoin, 5 year chart, they're both at literally exactly plus 78%. And S&P 500 is what? All-time high price discovery, super elevated PE to Magoo's point, and Bitcoin is in the middle of a bear market, and they're both exactly the same 5 year return. Like,
Right. And
yeah,
like I
I
said, I
mean,
was playing devil's advocate there, Matt. If anything, I already knew the answer to the question, but I'm like, doesn't this even get fucking worse in 30 years from now when we have a fracture of all this fucking central financial entity in America type shit? Like, if they haven't turned over to BTC at that point, they're gonna be doing it, right? But yeah.
well, it's not. We like to. We're most of us are here in the U.S. or like to travel to the U.S. or Western countries, but I can't help but think of the other 7.5 billion people who aren't in U.S. aren't on Western shores, and the comparison gets even more no brainer as the well, let me just get some Bitcoin rather
Yeah.
than whatever terrible indexes and exchanges that they're
that's available to them. Like
If you want to
yeah.
like look for like the next most investable places over the next 30 years, it's India and Africa. Like, is that like all you got to do? Like, show me a country's demographics and I'll show you their future. Literally. And India is one of the fastest growing countries, not just in terms of population, but in terms of turning from basically living in a shithole bumfuck nowhere to basically being industrialized, right? And that's why the biggest YouTube channel now is an Indian channel, because they are coming online, like literally online, in massive waves, right? And so India is going to be the growth story for the next 10 years for the global economy. After that is going to be Africa, right? Like you just go look at some of these countries' demographics and what their birth rates are, right? Um, all the first world nations, their birth rates are so poopy that they have to let literal fucking criminals into their country to help boost up GDP while those criminals are like killing native citizens. Like that's how bad birth rates are, right? Um, but if you even look at like I like to look really far out and you look at even UN projections or even more conservative demographers, UN thinks global population peaks in the year 2100, roughly at 10 billion people. A lot of more well-respected demographers actually think that that's very liberal, and that some of the more conservative models show the world actually peaking population closer to 2070, roughly at under 9 billion people. Um, so we could be in a world, because remember, the monetary system we live in is predicated on musical chairs and increasing the chairs, right? Or increasing the people and the chairs, because that's how you fudge GDP numbers. You just add more fucking mouths to feed and GDP goes up,
Yeah,
right?
all the
So it's
while you just turn on the infinite money printer. But yep.
yeah, exactly, right? But as soon as your population actually stops growing and starts shrinking, the whole facade of the entire monetary system that we live in starts to be basically you start to see the man behind the curtain, because you can no longer increase GDP, especially you're not going to be increasing GDP per capita. So that is a huge issue. So like there is going to be a massive change in the global monetary system by like 2070, 2080. Obviously some of us will be around, some of us won't be around. But the current system that they live in, the debt-based Keynesian system, is going to be gone, because there's going to be no population to continue the Ponzi, right? Like everyone talks about Ponzi's this, Ponzi's that, Ponzi's good, Ponzi's bad. The literal monetary system that we live in is a Ponzi, right? The most successful economic driver in the human history of civilization is a Ponzi. The American monetary one world order is a Ponzi, right? It's the most successful Ponzi that has ever existed. And it is predicated on more people coming in than going out, right? And that's the population growth. As soon as that flips, then you have a really big fucking problem, right? And that's what that system looks like after that, who nobody knows.
Well, it, it's it's also predicated on more people tomorrow using US dollars than yesterday. So in a weird way, they don't need you don't actually need more US citizens tomorrow than we had. You just need more US dollar holders and users tomorrow than we used to have.
So do
So
they
that's
get
what
that? Do they move? And
yeah.
my next question to both of you two is: do they move U.S. companies over to India and Africa before that domino starts to flip? Or
No, they just make
They're
no,
not even waiting.
they
Yeah,
just
Apple's not waiting. Google's not waiting. Like
yeah,
look
they're
at
going there.
yeah,
yeah, look at your Mag 7. That's honestly what's happening with like yeah, Magoo's absolutely right. India is one of the fastest growing. Africa is one of the fastest growing. But I don't need to you don't need to invest in some local Indian company to enjoy that. Just invest in
that's
Apple, who are
exactly my
putting
point that I was trying to
they're
get around to.
manufacturing out of
Yeah.
right. They're manufacturing out of India and they're selling their products to
So just
India. But they
because, yeah, guys and
yeah.
listeners, just because we're saying fade the West in the future does not mean fade the Western company. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not trying to
Eh,
shill some sweatshop in Mumbai.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
just
not
saying.
fucking Peter Schiff trying to shell you a fucking emerging markets fucking
Yeah.
mutual fund here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh
just
my
trying to
goodness, that is so.
facilitate here, but yeah, I
Yeah.
know what you're saying. Trust me. I'm just trying to make
Talk about
sure.
the original. To circle it all the way back. Talk about the original risk-free scam. Every time that Peter Schiff makes fun of Sailor. Yet he's doing the exact same
Dude, I
thing of
find that
like,
so
oh,
hilarious
can't
too.
you can't trust, yeah, you can't trust American companies, you can't trust your SPY and your Nasdaq indexes. You should invest in these emerging market indexes. Not and the average Joe doesn't realize how farther out the risk curve that is, how much more risk you're inherently accepting than you realize. But it's international, and somehow that's reducing my risk and it's diversified. No, you idiot, not even at all.
The best, yeah. And the other part of the strategy is obviously putting American companies and products in the hands of Indians and Africans. But the more important part is putting dollars in their hands. And this goes back, like
Bingo.
I have plenty of threads on my page about the whole stablecoin thesis on what are we going to do now that other foreign central banks are dropping US treasuries, and they're moving away from treasuries and moving towards gold? You need someone to be net buyers of US debt. And the way that you can do that is through stablecoins by dollarizing the world's economy with stablecoins that cannot be stopped with banking laws or any capital controls. Do you don't think someone in Africa would love to have a phone with a stablecoin wallet on it and you can use dollars, right? Do you think someone in Southeast Asia? Do you think someone in Latin America? These people fucking love dollars, right? Because you're comparing it to like the fucking Argentinian peso or the fucking Brazilian real or some African Ku Klux
And
fucking
Western
currency.
companies, and that's exactly what Western companies want, because why? They're making earnings in fiat currency that's fucking useless, but the other people need, right? And so,
So the whole stablecoin plan is to fucking like there's a military aspect of it as well. Like you can conduct so much financial warfare on countries if you can basically subvert their ability to control sovereign monetary policy. If you inject US dollar stablecoins into a country and they cannot stop that, you literally basically destroy that country's fiat currency.
that's a really good fucking point, dude. I never thought about that from a supply chain dynamics.
Yeah. So if you just go on my profile, I have so many threads on like stable coins and what they're actually going to be used for. There's a multi-prong attack.
You see it, like countries like Nigeria, India, South America, excuse me, South Africa. These countries have the highest stablecoin usage per capita on the planet,
Oh yeah,
and
you
it's
can
exactly.
go to Argentina.
Yeah.
You can go to any
Well,
That
steakhouse
I
in
mean,
legit does.
Argentina.
Yeah.
people like to use Argentina as and that's
Well,
a good example. But
Venezuela is popular for
but
using stable
but
coins, I've
like
heard too.
Nigeria is quote unquote the richest country on the continent of Africa, and they have the highest stablecoin usage per capita of anyone. Like that's a big takeaway. It's not like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, oh, Argentina or Venezuela, they're having to use stablecoin because their local economy is utter shit. But here on the flip side, here's Nigeria, the jewel of Africa, also got knee deep in stablecoin too.
Yeah, and like right now, stablecoins market cap or how many stablecoins exist is roughly, I think it's what 200 billion between USDT and USDC. I would be shocked that within basically 5 years' time, like you're probably going to see over probably close to $5 trillion of
Oh,
stablecoin market cap.
I had 3 trillion
Probably.
on like a model like in February of last year, but I could see us.
No, it's going
You
to
just go you just go direct to the
yeah.
people because
If
there's
clarity passes,
yeah
they're going to fucking explode. The market caps
because
of stablecoins are going to blow up.
because there's 7.5 billion people around the planet. They can't be US citizens, but they can use US dollar. They'll still use US dollar.
Yeah,
um
there's another interesting aspect as well because these stablecoins specifically are U.S. Treasury backed, short denominated T bill backed. Um, I don't know if I fully believe this, but I think there's some interplay and there's some accuracy to this. But there's a theory out there that one way that you can continue create buyers for U.S. debt is you start to convert the internal U.S. banking system to move away from bank reserves, which are basically liabilities, and you start having everyone use stable coins, which are actually backed by treasuries, meaning there needs to be buyers of those treasuries because bank reserves are just created out of thin air. That's the
Yeah, it's
credit.
it's
That's the
it's all
credit.
good faith.
That's it's good
Yeah.
faith. That's the credit system, and that's where you basically can get investment in credit. But if you can create a parallel system with fully backed dollars backed by the debt, but it's actually backed by the T bills, you are creating buyers for those T bills. And so the US government, like they have $100 trillion of unfunded liabilities in the next 30 years. So even the next 30 years, they need to create $100 trillion just to fund their unfunded liabilities. And they need to print that money, right? And well, if you print it, they need someone to buy that debt. Obviously, the Fed can't put $100 trillion on its balance sheet, and all these other central banks, they are basically telling everyone that we're done holding U.S. debt on our balance sheets. We have to look after ourselves. And what are you gonna do? Call the fucking stablecoin motherfuckers, and basically inject stablecoins into the world economy anywhere you can to create those net buyers of U.S. debt. Basically, no one else will buy it.
Yeah, it's interesting actually how we keep rounding the principality of individualism, right? Decentralization, individualism is just a fucking hot grab for anybody in the next gen economy. But yeah, amazing fucking discussion here right now.
Can I add something about what was said earlier about United States and also the dollar? I've been a man of the world, so since I was 18, I think I traveled to more than 55 countries and lived in six. If anybody thinks that United States is going to give up the global power without a major war, I think they need to, study history. And second of all, go to any country right now except, but even Russia or China, but except these countries, and ask the average Joe. Go to Vietnam, go to Latin America, and pay for one of their services and make them choose. Do you want $100 in dollars or you want $100 in rubles or in yen? And come back with the come back with the answer, and you will know exactly which is still the dominant force. And keep doing that for the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And whenever we're gonna have a majority of people choosing rubles, yen, etc., then is when the dollar is gonna get faded. But until then,
What if I told you the successor to the dollar?
is the digital dollar.
No, it is Bitcoin. Um, and I think that it is actively being pursued by the U.S. as the replacement for U.S. Treasuries because there's certain things that happen when you are the reserve currency of the world. Like it forces your economy to basically all you end up producing is dollars, right? Because those dollars need to be exported throughout the world so that there's enough dollars to run the global economy. um, and that really forces your country to do nothing but just print money, and it starts to become a detriment as time goes on. And I think the U.S. knows this, and the U.S. doesn't want to give up their money printing status as the world reserve currency. But look at what they're doing in Bitcoin right now with the ETFs and Sailor. Like they're creating it so that the U.S. is the predominant benefactor of Bitcoin. Right. Like if Bitcoin goes to $1 million, like the amount of GDP that's going to create within the United States and then that amount of wealth, like like Bitcoin is not tied to any real economic substance or goods or services. So Bitcoin can go to $10 million of coin and it doesn't affect anyone's life unless you own it where you beneficially direct from it, right? Like
That's why I
realistic.
tell people, Magoo, there is no real top to this fucking thing because
No, there's not.
there really isn't, man. Yeah, I completely fucking agree with you. Because what happens if you can't turn on a money printer and there's just a fixed supply, and then America owns the treasury asset at that point because they're still the center of business, but it's just all offshore at that
Yeah, like for the last 50 years, all of this money printing has basically gone into real estate, and you've taken basically single family homes going from like $70,000 up to $400,000 over the last 30, 40 years. The housing market has been the liquidity sponge where all this money has went. But now you're hitting an inflection point where housing is getting so expensive it can't go up anymore, comparable to wages. And so they need a sponge that basically will allow it to grow in excess of when they print money, so it doesn't go into consumer basic goods like CPI goods, and it goes into this asset that doesn't affect anyone's ability to afford life.
Exactly,
And that's
bro.
Bitcoin.
Exactly.
So yeah, the Bitcoin has no top because fiat has no bottom. Like that's
I,
literally the
I, ha-
fucking
I have
slogan.
I have a tweet about this like going on so many times.
Yeah, that's the slogan of Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's not actually going up. It's fiat currency's going down.
And we're seeing the real life political adoption of this shit from an infrastructure level. What I was speaking on 2 hours ago, why I'm just so excited, even at the bottom of the bear, or subjectively the middle of the bear, whatever.
Yeah, we'll see where this bear market shakes out. We've seen the bottom. I kind of think we haven't seen the bottom. I think we sweep those February lows. Now, whether we
Could be.
go lower than that, who knows? But
Plus, plus or minus, as the title of the space, plus or minus the 200 weekly moving average is probably pretty good. You know, it's probably pretty good. Um,
yeah, if you're a long term
I
investor, buying here, like DCing
rather
here, is not a bad thing to do.
DCA the 200 weekly, like you're that was a smart decision in the that would have got you the bottom in the 2014 2015 bear market, the 2018 bear market certainly would have gotten you the bottom. We went through it, but it would have got you the bottom in 2022, and it's looking pretty good here in 2026. So just long the 200 weekly. um yeah.
Yeah, I think, guys, I think this is an excellent way to wrap up this space. My God, it's 3:20 p.m. right now. I think I've been going on for 5, 6 hours. Excellent turnout, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Great talking to you all, guys. Amazing space. We're gonna do it again soon. Peace.